Hey guys, if anyone is out there listening and or watching this, again, we are going to be wrapping up our Prom Night Retrospective series, which means this is not a normal podcast, so there's going to be spoilers for all the movies that we're going to talk about tonight. We're not doing Q&A, we're not talking about anything else we've been watching. We are just talking about prom night movies. Whether or not that is a good thing, I will leave up to you to decide. Also, just a disclaimer, I feel like crap tonight, so if my voice cuts out, we may have to cut the show short, but fingers crossed that it doesn't. Also, because I feel like garbage, I'm not going to have my camera on tonight, so if you see anybody, you will probably just see Chad and his wonderful pink
titties. Yeah.
He's been flashing his boobs off for everybody. So, with that being said, again, reminder, you're going to hear the introduction like 3 times tonight, and it's going to sound a little bit weird because we're going to kind of introduce the show every time, but that's just because that's how we do these things when we're recording to put these into the feed, because these episodes are pretty much going to go up unedited. So I guess that's really about it. Thanks for listening, and we're going to start the show now, so don't go anywhere.
No.
Gotta mute everybody.
Fuck y'all.
Everybody mute.
He just chilling.
No, chilling is what you have with a woman.
Oh, vaginas, I get it. Okay,
No, you make chilling. You got your boy chilling and your girl chilling.
All right, boys.
I got bunny chilling.
I gotta start this. So.
All right. Okay, Dad.
We're mature adults. Jess. R.I.P. Jess Caricasia. Jeff is going to turn this around if we don't stop. Bastards!
Welcome to the Dead Air Horror and Genre Podcast Prom Night Retrospective Series. The episode that you are about to hear contains detailed plot spoilers for the film in question, so if you haven't seen it yet, you should go back and watch it before listening. But if you have seen it, or you don't mind it being spoiled, then have at it.
Prom night, everything is alright. Prom night, no more feeling outside. Come with me tonight. Tell me you will love me forever. The feeling's right. It's prom night, and I know things will get better. Come and fly me away to a place where we can be.
Today's inter-school chess club tournament has been canceled. Club members are asked to report to the library and play with themselves.
This is Alex Gray. He's intelligent. He's athletic. He's an average guy.
There's lunch.
See anything you like?
This is Mary Lou Maloney. She's a good sport.
Touchdown!
She's sexy. She's dead. He was looking for something different. She was looking for something new. But when they got together, it was something deadly.
You really gotta stop killing people.
Those kind of girls, you just fool around with them once, they turn on you, they rip your heart out, show it to you, then they're all over it with their spike heels and ram it down your throat.
Well, what about our relationship?
What relationship? You killed him, I married him in the football field. This is not your basic boy meets girl here. No, that's it, it's over.
But even hell hath no fury like Mary Lou Maloney. And on prom night, Alex Gray will learn breaking up is hard to do. Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss, a romantic comedy from hell.
Women.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Dead Air Horror and Genre Podcast Prom Night Retrospective Series. I'm Jeff Konopka, and tonight I am joined by the one and only Mr. Jesse Bartell. And the fantastical, fabulous wrestler man, sexy tank top wearing Chad.
The boner machine is
Dick
here.
swinging.
Dick swangins.
And tonight, as you heard by the trailer there that just played, we are going to be talking about Prom Night 3, The Last Kiss, the romantic comedy from hell.
Hooray!
Because this movie, I don't think, knows what it is trying to be. Talk about that in a few minutes. Directed by Mr. Ron Oliver, who also wrote it, and co-directed by producer Peter Simpson.
As Peter Simpson.
Yes, Peter R. Simpson as
Good right.
starring Tim Conlon, Cynthia Preston, David Stratton, and a bunch of other people that you've probably never heard of that you probably don't care about.
Canadians.
Pretty much. There's so much accidental Canadian in this movie. It's out of control.
And it's written by the same guy that did 2.
Yes, very much. As well as written, and he co-directed it.
Right, Ron Oliver, right.
And we can have a discussion about that because I'm curious how much he actually had to do with things, if that makes you know what I mean. It's a really weird movie in tone and in content in a lot of ways. But if you're just listening and you happen to miss it there in the beginning, we are going to talk about spoilers for the movie. So if you don't want to know what happens in Prom Night 3, and if you're the kind of person that really gets up in arms and don't want this kind of movie spoiled for you, then I don't really know what to tell you. But you shouldn't listen because we're going to talk all about the movie, and whatever we feel like talking about is going to come out. So there's that. You can find more of our episodes, including the rest of the Prom Night Retrospective series episodes that have been released, up at deadairpodcast.net. And we're on Facebook and all those other places. So check us out and listen to the other shows if you like what you hear here. We've got a whole lot of other retrospectives and other shows that we do. So with that being said, Prom Night 3 came out in 1990. This was the first direct-to-video sequel in the series. There was 2 of them. 1990 was right around the time when lots of franchises and whatnot were going direct-to-video. I can think of things like Silent Night, Deadly Night. Same thing right around there with Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 and 4 and 5 and all of the pretty much subsequent ones. But it was kind of one of those times, I think, in the late 80s where the VHS market was really a lucrative place to release your stuff. You didn't have
essentially if you were a forgotten or like a minorly successful slasher from like like you said, late 70s, early 80s, chances are you were going to get a terrible like sequel. Oh.
Well, and that's where it kind of comes in because a lot of the movies that ended up in some of these series had nothing to do with the actual series. This one's a little bit different, but when we get to the next episode, we will definitely have this discussion. But a lot of them, I think, were just somebody had a movie. They happened to be working with a company that had the rights to the name of a franchise, and so they would just be like, hey, let's just slap this name on it and maybe stick a few things in that loosely connect to it, and then we'll call it a sequel.
To be fair, though, this is probably the most direct sequel in the entire series. Let's be fair. Only because Mary Lou's in it. Like, that's the only reason.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, well, does one of you guys want to kind of give the brief synopsis of what this movie's actually about?
I want to hear Jesse do it.
Yeah, because, okay, so Mary Lou Maloney's in hell, and then she takes a nail file, and then she breaks her chains in hell, and then she shows up in the real world, and then she seduces this piece of shit guy who, like, is in a good relationship, but then he's like, I don't know if I really want her anymore. And then he sees Mary Lou Maloney like once, and he's just like, okay, well, I'll just help you kill all these people for you. And
But
I'll do that for you, Mary Lou. And then they do, and then they kill people with ice cream and footballs, and it's weird. It's a weird movie.
It is.
But basically, she gets out of hell by using a nail file on her chains.
She's like a ghost or something, though. She's not like. I don't think she's like real, right?
R.I.P. Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, R.I.P.
You
Mary
said
Lou
ghost,
Maloney.
get it? Oh, motherfucker.
This movie is so confusing in some ways, though. Well, so first off, if you've watched this on the DVD that's out there, you're probably going to be even more confused because that is actually the television cut, which is missing like all the swearing and a bunch of the violence and I think some of the sexy type stuff.
The boob stuff.
Not that there's a lot of it in the movie, but there's definitely butts and Chad apparently has a crush on.
Oh, Courtney Taylor. Oh my gosh. I'm sitting down at a table, and I'm afraid if I get up, I'll knock the table over.
You could just turn your camera on and show everybody your giant boner.
Okay. Hold on.
She was in
Don't
Camp
actually
Blood.
do
She was in Cover Me as Holly Jacobson. Please I'm sorry.
it's a fucking weird movie on a bunch of levels because it's kind of trying to be. I think if anything, this particular movie owes a lot to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't had a chance to really talk about that. I think we'll get into it at some point later on our regular show. But R.I.P. Wes Craven.
Oh yeah.
We didn't have a show last week, so that's a complete bummer. But it really made me think about it though, and I was like, well, if there was no Nightmare on Elm Street, this movie, as it is, wouldn't exist. I don't think because there's a lot of that weird, dream-like kills in here, and it's not really a slasher, but it's kind of like we talked about like in the Nightmare on Elm Street series when we were doing it, whereas like those movies are almost like not slashers. They're just, I mean, they're body count movies to an extent, but a lot of times not a lot of people die in them. They're more like fantasy horror movies.
Right.
And this kind of tries to do that, but it's got this really awkward comedy that's in it.
And the transitions are weird because they'll just be people, and then like Mary Lou will show up with ice cream cones, and will like have nothing really to say, and then the person dies. It's not like Freddy. It just feels awkward all around. Like they're trying to imitate Nightmare on Elm Street without like the actual like fiction to present that or the natural like transitions. They just are like, well, we'll just have this guy die and it'll make it really weird, and there's nothing like clever to say here. And Mary Lou Maloney's wearing a football outfit.
And Brock Sampson's in there somewhere. Brock Simpson, not Brock Sampson.
But I mean, if anything, like this movie is kind of trying to be Nightmare on Elm Street meets Sleepaway Camp meets Christine.
Meets
a really terrible like,
bodies.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a really terrible like sex comedy.
It just feels like it's kind of a parody. It really does, and I really love this movie. I think it's we'll get to that later, but I'm with you. I think something is just missing. Like there's just I don't know if to this day I don't know what they were going for. I really don't. I don't know if this was meant to be a parody or this was meant to be just fodder, for a video store.
And that's where I think what I was kind of I kind of started to go down that path a little bit earlier, because when I was saying, co-directors Ron Oliver and Peter R. Simpson. So Peter R. Simpson was the producer on this series, who was pretty much, I know he was directly involved with the first 3 movies. Whether or not he was involved with 4, I don't recall at this particular time, and I don't think that he had anything to do with the remake. Although he probably somehow got paid some money for something. But I can't help but wonder if they turned this over to Ron Oliver and he was supposed to write and direct it, and then like Peter Simpson didn't like what he was doing and kind of took it away at some point, maybe after filming was done, and then recut a bunch of stuff. and then gave himself a director credit. You know what I mean? It's just
Probably.
because it seems odd. Like that does not seem to make sense that you would have the producer as a co-director. You know, when this guy is the dude who wrote the last movie and wrote this one, and this one, like as far as script wise goes, like the second one is batshit crazy, but it makes a lot more sense than what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm just giving this guy too much credit, but
well, it seems like the whole like presentation of hell or whatever it is that they decide to show
for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, it doesn't really like seem to make sense with the rest of the. There doesn't seem to be a point why Mary Lou is doing this, really, right? I mean,
it's not like she hasn't. She just wants to be with this dude or something. It's not like she's trying to like come back to Earth or like come back and go after something or even get revenge on anybody. She doesn't even seem to care. She just wants to kill people. She wants to kill people and fuck, and that's about it. And I mean, you know,
it's not bad.
I can't really like argue with that, but
gangster.
But it's just they wrap so many things into this movie. Like they could do without the whole like Christine angle where this dude like gets a fucking motorcycle and now he's like, oh shit, like he totally pulls a Keith Gordon in this movie. Where it's like, man buys car, man becomes complete asshole. Like, this is like, dude gets motorcycle, dude becomes complete asshole. And he doesn't even look like the kind of guy that would be riding like a fucking Harley to begin with.
Looks like he would drive Pee Wee Herman's bike.
Pretty much. You look at him on the poster, and he's just got that like
that shit-eating grin.
You know what he is? He is not Zach Galligan.
This is true.
He kind of has that like kind of Canadian Zach Galligan kind of looking thing going on. I don't know. Don't tell Stacey Still I said that.
But there's so much fucking. So this movie obviously was shot in Canada and produced with Canadian funds, probably one of those tax shelters, in a way that Canada was really big on at the time, where these people were just putting money in and just to get movies made or whatever. And you can kind of hear the random Canadian accents come out every now and then.
It's scary.
And it's like just so out of place, but it's kind of charming in a way. But
it's kind of corny.
And that's why it's kind of charming, because it's just so dumb that you're just like, all right, well that's goofy. Like, so you could probably play a drinking game with this movie, and just every time that there's accidental Canadian, you take a drink. But I gotta wonder though, like, I mean, so obviously the market for this movie was probably just pre-sold video sales.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think there was anybody clamoring for a third Prom Night movie, but my guess is this is around the time when, you know, they could have probably just gotten some huge pre-sale deal and sold like however many millions of tapes through like Blockbuster Video, you know, for rental. Because I always saw this movie at the video store. So all the video stores around here had it when it came out. But I never actually watched it because I didn't really understand what it had to do with anything. And I guess even after watching it, I'm still not sure. So aside from that little like thread that they use where it's just like, hey, Mary Lou Maloney died at the prom and now she's in hell and she broke out. And they don't even bother like really explaining that so much. You just like see this really terrible like prom setup. And
terrible recreation.
Yeah, like, girls with like chains on their ankles doing this like half-hearted terrible dance, and she like he has a file and then she's gone.
Where did that file come from?
It's so stupid.
It really is.
That's like, and then the principal cuts his fingers off, or his finger off.
And nobody fucking like, they're just like, oh, it's all good, like we'll just keep going with whatever we're doing.
Because they're all like, want to forget about how horrible the history here has been, and then they fucking.
Well, that's the weird thing with this series is like, so the only thing that really carries between all of them
Is that
the
one
high
stupid?
school.
Well, no, that, and they always say that stupid line in every one. It's always
Doesn't
like,
matter who you
it's
come
not
with,
who
it's who you go home with.
It's who you go home with. They say it in every stupid movie.
Jesse's angry tonight about this.
I have a feeling that's only going to get worse, but
I'm sure. Just wait till prom night 4. I'm gonna unload. Oh,
Ew. Gross.
diarrhea.
But the only thing that really seems to be tying it together, besides little terrible quips and things that are just stuck in there, is the fact that it's this high school. But none of the movies seem to acknowledge the existence of the other events.
Mm-mm.
And whenever they re-show something that happened at the high school, it's never actually the same thing that happened.
Well, I think that they didn't in this one. Is it this one or the next one that they kind of made?
Well, the
footage?
fourth one just completely redoes everything.
Yeah. Well,
We'll
no,
skip that discussion.
but they kind of explain that it's very subtle, but they're like, yeah, Mary Lou Maloney, she's the one that died at prom in '87, or '57, so it's kind of.
That's why she's humping this dude in the stairwell.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, when they have that weird ghost sex, and he wakes up on the floor of the fucking atrium or whatever with no clothes on and his books, and he's running around the school naked.
He's ghosting. He's ghosting in real life.
He paid the ghost.
Oh damn.
Oh shit. Son.
R.I.P. Nick Cage.
R.I.P. Shit. R.I.P.
Simpson.
R.I.P. Peter Simpson and Bart Simpson.
R.I.P. Ron Oliver.
R.I.P. Oliver and Company.
But you can feel like some of that guy's influence on the movie just because. So it starts out really stupid, and then things are just kind of weird and then goofy. But then at some point, it does take this other turn, and you get to that shit where it's basically the dude. What is it, the fucking montage to the bad 80s rap song where he's getting a gun and he's just chilling on the staircase waiting. And
school shootings are so hot right now.
It just gets so ridiculous, and it's I don't know how a movie like this ever existed, and I don't think that they could ever. I don't think that something like this would ever get made today. And that's kind of sad, even though, I'm just gonna come out and say I don't really like this movie that much at all. Apparently, it has a fan base though.
I could see that. It's definitely I definitely don't necessarily hate it. I don't think it's very good, but there's a weirdness to it that I think is kind of charming, but it doesn't the charm factor doesn't extend through the entire 90 minutes or whatever it is. It's just kind of loses its steam. And it's once you start looking at it too long, you fall into the vat of bullshit, and you're oh my god, get me out of this.
Yeah, I don't know.
The blob, it overtakes you.
Mm-hmm.
I felt at first I was what the fuck am I watching? And then I said, I think I got bored, and then I think around the end of it, I kind of it crossed this line, and all of a sudden kind of became entertaining in a this movie is awful kind of way.
Mm-hmm. Here's my issue: is this movie clearly does not take itself seriously. It's not like Part 2 where it's just fun. It's just straight up, it's kind of gobbledygook. And if they had marketed it as a comedy, it probably would have been a lot better suited. But
they did though. Right on the poster, it says a romantic comedy from hell.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've always felt like there was maybe some mismarketing on this, and I think that any promotion they did, they were trying to say, hey, the first movie was super dark, and then the second one was a lot of fun. Now here we go. This is Pee-wee's fucking Playhouse. This is essentially what it is. It's Pee-wee's Playhouse, thinly veiled as a late '80s Canadian movie. Horror movie, sorry. I love this movie. Not as much as I love Part 2, but there's just so much wrong with this movie. And I think, it doesn't help that damn DVD was edited to hell. But
that damn DVD.
oh my gosh. Oh.
Yeah,
oh,
well,
I picked that up
just
when it
shows
first
that,
came out, and I was so pissed off.
That just shows that fucking like Lionsgate just doesn't give a fuck about any of the. They really don't. Like, they will just release whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they probably didn't have access to the actual. I'm not saying that they had to go back and like remaster it, but Jesus, just take like the master of the full movie that came out on VHS. They just were like, "Hey, we got a transfer from the TV version of it, so we'll just put it in this."
Oh.
And then they don't even bother to like put anything on there about it. That version.
It's funny. I remember taking it home because, like I said, I bought it when it first came out, and I'm watching it. And I'm like maybe halfway through, I'm like, something just doesn't feel right, and something's off. And then all of a sudden, the scene where like she's blowing the zombies up, it finally hits me, and she's like, "Oh!" And then they just, instead of letting her say "oh shit," they just like cut to the zombies, and I'm like, "Ah, fuck!" It's an edited version. I wanted to just punch my TV. It was so frustrating.
Well, luckily, I mean, again, I don't usually condone this, but if you do want to watch this movie and you haven't seen it, you can go on YouTube and watch the uncut version of it, which is one of the only places you're going to be able to do that without importing it. And I don't know if I could wholeheartedly recommend that anybody pay the money to import this movie.
You can get an eBay copy for like $15 shipped from the UK, and I'm not going to tell you why I know that.
Because you own it?
Because you own it in the UK?
No, not yet. But I was.
It's on its way.
It's on its way.
Chad was watching this, and he was like, "You know what I really need to do? I really need to own Prom Night 3: The Last Kiss uncut."
Ooh, those boners though. But here's the deal.
Chad's next project is gonna be like tracking down the fucking yeehaw guy on the motorcycle.
I already have. I've already tried, and I kind of found him, but he's not really with it. So I'm just like, eh.
Is he on drugs, Chad?
He's kind of still acting, and he just doesn't want anything to do with his early career. Brock Simpson, for what it's worth, is just completely gone crazy because I found him on Facebook, and all he seems to post is I guess he's like a hippie now, because all he posts is like nature stuff and like Obama, which is funny because he's from Canada or something like that. But
that makes sense.
That damn Obama.
Canadians love Obama.
But
Obama.
Thanks a lot, Obama.
It's all Obama's fault that we're here on September 11th talking about Prom Night 3.
You know what? I'm not even going to do an RIP. Never mind. RIP Todd McFarlane. I don't know.
RIP Todd McFarlane. RIP Spawn.
Now that UK
John Squires.
That UK disc that you bought wasn't released by Network, was it?
Dude, I didn't even buy it. I was offered one, and I just said, no, I'm okay. No, but
there is a UK version that's out on DVD that is the same edited one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's got a better cover. There is a 4-disc set, and it's like all 4. I think it's called the Hamilton High Collection. And I don't know who put it out. I think it was probably... Fuck, I'm not even going to bother because it's been so long since I've caught up with this crap. But I think they put it out around the time the remake came out.
Probably.
So it's but I know it's like a UK exclusive, which should tell you how much they're invested in putting it out here.
I just think that this is hilarious if you go on IMDb and actually read the alternate versions. It just says The DVD releases feature the edited TV version, which heavily removes shots of gore from murder scenes. And it says all footage of Mary Lou's topless breasts and overdubs to remove swearing. And I'm just thinking to myself, is it weird to say topless breasts?
Well, no, her boobs were taken off, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I know, but like
What the
topless
fuck?
breasts, like
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That's weird.
it just sounds weird. Like I could see like the topless scenes, or her, couldn't they just say her tits, her breasts,
No. Let's not work blue here, Jeff. That's
her
completely
naked
unacceptable.
breasts, her bare breasts?
Dirty pillows.
So where did your infatuation with this movie come from then, Chad? Like where did you first see this movie?
Okay. So after I kind of found Mary Lou, this is around the time I would just hang out in video stores, and I found out about Prom Night 3, and then I rented it, and I was like, okay, I think she's hot. I think the guy's kind of a dork. I think this is just a giant mess, but for the most part, I find it entertaining. So yeah, I don't remember the first time I watched it, but it was definitely probably when I was in high school.
And was this your first time, Jesse?
Yeah, totally. I knew nothing about it, and
Kind of wish you kept it that way.
kind of wish that I wish I lived in ignorant bliss. Just
But there is one Nicolas Cage-worthy moment in this movie.
The
pie.
Sure. Yeah.
The fucking pie scene is just like, what the fuck? And I remember I was like watching this, and I was on Twitter, and I was tweeting, and all of a sudden this fucking boom mic shows up on the top of it, and I was like, what the fuck? And it just like sits there for like the rest of the scene.
Quality movie making right there.
I was just like, is it a fucking boom mic?
It is Canadian.
Stamp of authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
I guess so. I
Yes,
guess
sir.
so.
In Canada, that's actually like it's okay to do that. I don't know if you guys knew that.
In fact, I
Boom mic.
encourage it.
Boom mics are natural part of the
You have to leave boom mics in your scenes.
The birds and the bees.
and the boom mic trees.
Where's your boom mic, eh?
EA, do you mind if you put a boom mic in?
A boot. What about the boom mic?
What about the boom mic?
Now you sound like you're Scottish.
Yeah, I know.
I am Scottish, you
You
idiot.
sound like Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire.
And how we got from Prom Night 3 to Mrs. Doubtfire, I don't know. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
decency.
Robin Williams.
So I mean, I don't know. Like, there's not a whole lot more to say about this movie other than it's obviously made for video. Something is just not right about it,
Something in the water.
but I can't find a lot of information on it. I mean, I went to go try to look around on the internet, but there's not really a lot of info out there on like Wikipedia or anything like that about the movie itself. It kind of just says it was the third movie in the Prom Night series. And it's like, oh, that's fucking thank you, Captain Obvious. Can you imagine somebody writing that Wikipedia page?
How sad and lonely they must be.
And somebody else probably edited it.
Oh man,
You like
This
had to
is-
come back and re-edit it.
you're just like you're in like a bog of just sadness, and your fingers are just coming up through the water trying to touch the keyboard. It's like to put the pie scene into perspective.
Want any fucking pie? Oh Jesus!
Gross.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the kind of shit though that like probably was on HBO a bunch
Mm-hmm.
back in like the early '90s.
At
You
3 in the
probably,
morning.
Probably like that's where I saw a lot of these fucking movies, and this was the first time I had ever seen this. And I don't know if it's something that I really feel like revisiting anytime soon.
Nah.
I would say that if you have not seen this, I guess watch it, but I don't think it's very good. And quite frankly, I think that you can do better with your life.
Thank you. I know I can.
Yeah, not very good. So, do you have any words that you would like to say about your overall feelings of the movie, Jesse?
It has a novel aesthetic to it that quickly wears off. I think that if you make it to 2, you should at least try 3 just 'cause, but it's not very good, and it's sort of, for me, it sort of loses steam and it becomes just too ridiculous to be like both funny and a good movie, and it lost me. So,
Well, what did you think about the kills?
like they're interesting enough at first, but then they just stop like making sense, and they just seem to like they're just trying to be weird, and it rubs me the wrong way. But a couple of them are just like, oh, the ice cream's funny, the football is funny, you know. But then it's just like, okay, I'm done.
But then it's just like, come on, guys. What the fuck do you think you're doing, you crazy Canadians?
Yeah. Stop
Killing
smoking that weed, Canadian.
Dude, Canada got that weed. They got that kush.
You got that purple kush.
They got that. They got that Bin Laden weed.
Hiding out in the house and just smoking weed all day.
It's that 3-6 Mafia song. I don't know if you ever heard that.
No.
He's talking about Bin Laden weed. And I was just like, I don't really understand what Bin Laden weed is.
You don't need to know.
Yeah. I probably don't want to know.
Yeah.
I think Chad had to step away for a few minutes here.
Poop.
But I'm not. Oh, he's back. Do you
back.
have any last words that you would like to say about this movie? Because I'm done talking about it.
Okay. I will say if.
Is he in the bathroom with us?
I kind of. What?
Are you
No,
in the bathroom?
No, I'm not. I ran.
Are you
No pun
podcasting?
intended. Oh, you know what? I should totally take this into the bathroom.
No, it's okay, man. We're good.
You sound like you're in a tunnel.
No.
Tunnel of poop.
There we go. Do I sound better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my mic was up. The only thing I would say about this movie is Mary Lou's hot. Courtney Taylor could totally get it.
Dude, did you spank it to this movie when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, I just said that. No. I freeze framed on her butt a couple times. Like, that was that. She has a great ass in that movie. I can't help it. And I
It's
love.
gonna be all about the visit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's some good asses.
Yeah, grandma ass.
Oh, damn it! Never
Oh,
mind.
grandma.
R.I.P. Grandma. Oh, now I feel bad. Okay, so if you're up for just a movie that's a giant car wreck, but it's still kind of entertaining, yeah, see this. But if you want something, if you really want the best in entry in this whole series, go see Part 2. That's it.
You know, I will actually go back and add to what I already said. If you are with a bunch of people and you have sufficient substances of any kind to partake in and watch this movie together as a group, you might have some fun with it.
This would be a fun movie, like which we need to do again. Is like one of our Halloween movie marathons.
Could do that.
Yeah.
Instead of watching Satan's Little Helper with German subtitles.
El Esteban, abortion, or
It was
incest.
all about, it was all like weird bestiality and shit. All right, well, it sounds like a resounding meh from most of us.
It's man, but it's still number 2 in the series for me.
I don't think that says very much, though.
No. It goes number 2, number 3, and then I'm kind of on the rest.
Well,
R.I.P. Fred Rogers.
We'll get to that. We'll get to the overall.
Wait, Fred Rogers was in Prom Night? Awesome.
In my mind, he was.
You know what?
Mr. Rogers,
Sometimes
I read.
like when you're watching some of these movies, sometimes it's better to just like have imaginary scenarios going on, like Mr. Rogers shows up and shit. It's probably
It's
better.
like when I watch movies, I like to
Sure.
pretend I'm watching a different movie and not pay attention to the movie that I'm in.
It's like fucking Mad Libs.
It's like the conversation that I was having with John Squires on Twitter the other day about you, because he was just like, it's like, Chad, you're supposed to be watching the movie, and John was like, yeah, Chad doesn't watch movies.
I watch movies. I just, I get distracted very easily.
I was like, no, Chad watches movies while he watches movies, and tweets about the movie that he's not watching.
No, yeah, maybe.
I can't tell you how many times I would get messages in my Facebook Messenger, and it would be from Chad, and he'd be like, "This fucking movie," and I'm like, "Chad, are you at the movie theater?" And he's like,
"Bathroom break,
and I'm like, "Why are you on your fucking phone in the movie?"
Bathroom break, motherfucker. Do you know how they work?
I guess.
I try to hold it.
Yeah, I try not to go to the bathroom. I don't want to miss anything.
Dude, I've got a bladder made of fucking paper. Okay?
I just had a conniption.
It's gonna fucking happen. Because now I'm realizing I'm trying to stall the prom night 4 talk.
Well, we're gonna get there, Chad. It's gonna happen. You cannot delay it by too long, and putting it off only makes it worse, Chad. There's a whole lot more pain ready to come down that pipeline.
I would rather take the remake than that fucking piece of shit 4th one. And I hate the curse, but oh my gosh.
We'll have that that discussion. And the cursing is not the problem. I'm fine with
the movies.
All sorts of fucks and
fuck
and terrible other language. So so that's it. It's gonna wrap up our discussion of Prom Night 3. The Last Kiss, which I don't really understand where that came from either, but I guess I'm just going to have to say that there's a lot I don't understand about this movie, and I'm not sure I want to understand it.
Probably not.
I don't think that I care enough to bother trying to understand it, I think is probably more accurate.
That's probably for the best.
So, so we will be, if you are listening live, we're gonna take a break after we're done with this, and we'll be back to talk about Prom Night 4, Deliver Us from Evil. If you're listening to this in the iTunes feed, first off, you should leave us a rating and or review. I know that some of you guys have been doing that because we've gotten a significant number of more ratings, not necessarily reviews, but people have at least been clicking the stars, which is good. So if you haven't done that, you should. And if you have any friends, hint, hint, that use iTunes,
what are friends?
That you can convince to go over and just leave us a rating, that helps too. I know Jesse did it because one of his coworkers apparently left us a review.
Oh, that's nice.
And it just says, I'm just doing this because my coworker made me do it. It says that, shout out to that white boy from Bookhampton.
No, it was a girl, not a white boy.
He's calling you a girl?
Oh, I'm the white boy, right?
Yeah. So I said shout. No, it said shout out to that white boy. That's what the review
I thought you were
actually
shouting
said.
out to the white boy.
No.
Okay.
No, they were shouting out to you, Jesse.
All right, I'm confused. I don't even.
You gotta take credit when it's due.
Credit. I'll take that label, white boy. I'll have that.
I'm gonna own it and take it back. So as always, like I said, you can find more of our episodes up at deadairpodcast.net. If you want to help support us and you do Amazon shopping, you can go to deadairpodcast.net/Amazon and use that to buy your stuff through Amazon, and will help us to bring this show to you. And much more to come in this series, and lots of other stuff happening. So just like us on Facebook and follow us that way. It's probably one of the easier ways. And the other way that you can keep up with us is by checking out the other stuff that we all do online. So, Chad, do you want to tell people where they can find your work on the internet?
No.
Okay.
Okay, no, horrormoviebbq.com.
Twitter and Instagram. Look me up. I'm cool. Yeah.
Well, all right, you don't want to tell them your Twitter handle?
No, I just did. It's all the same, pretty much. Horror Movie Barbecue.
Okay. Just Google horror movie BBQ. I just love it every time Chad says BBQ.
Well, see, you guys get. I don't know what the fuck am I supposed to say now.
Barbecue.
Okay, there you go. Horror Movie Barbecue. Instagram, Twitter, horrormoviebarbecue.com. That's my blog. I'm writing about Halloween and stuff. I just went to Target the other night, so I wrote about that. And it's been getting a lot of nice feedback. Probably going to be doing some more Halloween-related shit coming up. Hopefully you'll be uploading this by the time, that stuff is going on.
Well, the plan is to have this up and available this weekend.
Hooray!
For everybody in iTunes, which is why I'm recording all this live to tape, and I'm not editing anything anymore, because fuck it. So, Mr. Bartel.
Yeah.
You sound disheartened over there. Do you want to tell people where they can find you on the internet?
Looking ahead at what we're gonna talk about, I'm just depressed. Just go to google.com. You can go to their fresh new homepage.
Oh shit!
That they have. And
the one that's controversial.
Yeah, controversial.
Fucking.
And I'm doing this right now. If you type @DestroySuperman. The @ symbol, and then you do Destroy Superman, you get, everything about me, I guess. And that's where you can find me. So.
Jesse's gonna fucking trademark that shit.
I am. I'm gonna fucking mail that to myself.
I'm on Twitter @DeadAirJeff, and that's probably the best place to find me if you want to follow me. Again, I post on the Facebook page for the show, which you can find just by searching Dead Air Podcast on Facebook. It's really easy like that. But don't bother searching me out on Facebook, really, because
he's not ever there.
I don't ever go on there anymore. I decided I don't like Facebook for the most part. I occasionally just go on only to troll Chad.
All right.
Sorry.
Really?
It's been a while since I've pulled out the Hulk Hogan music. Sorry.
It really has. And with that being said, thank you everybody for listening.
It's been 1 week since you looked. What?
Don't go anywhere if you're listening live. We will be back in a few minutes. And if you're listening in the feed, I'm sorry. I'm surprised you haven't turned us off by now. But we appreciate your patronage. And we will see you guys back here for Prom Night 4. Deliver us from evil.
That's the best understatement.
So, until then, don't fucking die.
You're a freaker, breaker, taker, play you like a fool. That ought to teach ya. Nowadays the freaks don't play. Always on your tip when it's PAY day. You got crap on a pretty face, kick the better base, but it was leather face. In other words, so boy, you got sliced, cause American women are cold like ice, you're a freak you. Play you like an amateur, juice you, reduce ya, yeah, damage ya. In this era, never make an error, but you capitalize on that terror. Yeah, terror. Check it out. You're a freak you, then you trap. See a mini skirt and can't turn back. Black fatal attraction. Cold winds are blowing, your zeros are growing, and that's why she's gonna funk you up, pump you up. She's a hottie. Turn around, she'll. Yeah, you better play it wise. She's gotta have a brain to go with those eyes, and she's nothing. But you try to risk it. She played you. Now you're a statistic. In this era, never make an error. But she'll capitalize on that terror. Terror, spelled with a capital T. Take heed. It's getting hard to breathe. You can't slip, slide, don't sleep. Stay awake or she'll decapitate, destroy, dictate. Sorta like a snake, but more slime, more fly. Must be a fool if you think she won't lie. Take her out, wine and dine her. 24/7, she's a 49er. Like Jerry Rice, no, but very nice. Yo, better be known to F around with the maestro. You better wait your turn. can't be done, bird. In this era, never make an error, or she'll capitalize on that terror. Yeah, terror, what I'm saying. Break it down. Yeah. I wanna see some dope dance steps. She's gonna freak you, drive you crazy. She knows you're loaded, she wants your babies. LTD, should I love them? Leave them or please them? Just please them, thanks. I knew you'd agree. Just freaking proud of bitches, buddy. But still, I think I'm chill. Write dope rhymes when I count my bills, I'll just max me. They can't tax me or give them my digits so they can fax me a photo with a 2-page description. If I'm impressed, I give them permission to come to my crib, stand in the line. The ones that I check are the ones with a broad mind. In this era, never make an error, or she'll capitalize on that error.
If I can't have you, nobody can.
Hi, this is Dabaya. I am from the Exorcast. Every week, we talk all about pornography, beards, and horror movies. I used to have a co-host named Vincent, but he is off somewhere playing with dildos and dressing up like Judge Dredd. So, now I have a guy named Chuck and another guy named Newsfinder General, and we have more fun without Vincent because he is a sack of shit. We love the Dead Air guys. But James is a little rapey. Jeff is too drunk. Jesse thinks he is Nick Cage. And Sean. Well, I don't know where Sean is. Probably at a gas station giving hand jobs. So, when you are done listening to these assholes, you should go to exorcast.com and listen to us, assholes. I am sorry that I sound like a robot. But I have not given Jeff a new bumper in a long time. So he had to make this one. Go fuck yourself. Exorcast.com. Bitch. The power of pornography compels you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Dead Air Horror and Genre Podcast Prom Night Retrospective Series. The episode that you are about to hear contains detailed plot spoilers for the film in question, so if you haven't seen it yet, you should go back and watch it before listening. But if you have seen it, or you don't mind it being spoiled, then have at it.
Prom night, everything is alright. Prom night, no more feeling uptight. Come with me tonight. Tell me you will love me forever. The feeling's right. It's prom night, and I know things will get better. Come and fly me away to a place where we can be
I can't believe you finished 12 years, right? Well, that calls for a drink. Sure does.
From knife to prom.
That is Father Jones. We've been watching over him for 33 years. The devil has taken him. He is beyond salvation. All we can do is keep the demon contained.
Great house. Sold.
He's the monster.
He is evil beyond imagination.
Grant me strength. I will deliver their souls unto you. Save them. It's too late for you now.
Give me butter. Or I
It's in the hands of the Lord now.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the Dead Air Horror and Genre Podcast Prom Night Retrospective Series. I'm Jeff Konopka, and tonight I'm joined by the one and only fantabulous, mythical unicorn creature, Jesse Bartell.
Sorry. I was listening to that trailer and I fell asleep.
And also joined by Macho Man Randy Savage's younger and less handsome brother. Mr. Chad Young.
I can't follow that up with a. Let's see. R.I.P. Chuck Connors. I don't know.
And this evening we are here to talk about Prom Night 4. Deliver us. And that's Chad's theme for this evening.
Yeah, someone please deliver me from evil, because this movie is just...
Chad's colon is delivered. Directed by Clay Boris. Written by Richard Beatty. Starring Nicole DeBoer, J.H. Wyman, Joy
DeBoer,
and more people just don't care about.
There's no need to even introduce anyone in this movie. It sucks.
Released in 1992, direct-to-video, second direct-to-video sequel in this series.
Yeah. So it's got star power and it has a great track record.
And one of the most ridiculous, not interesting video covers / poster or whatever in the entire series, where it's just like a picture of a girl with some roses and there's like a shard missing and it's in the shape of a knife.
Yeah, it looks like a sex thriller.
And it
looks like a Lifetime movie.
It really does. But what I was gonna say is it's kind of funny because if you really look back at one of the other series that was going strong on direct-to-video at this time, which is the Silent Night Deadly Night series, which we have also done a retrospective for. So shameless plug. You can go to deadairpodcast.net and search that out and find that particular series up there. But Silent Night Deadly Night 4 also had like a really terrible knife on the cover, and for some reason. It's actually kind of funny because Phil Faso hit me up on Twitter earlier today and was like, "Yo, is Prom Night 4 subtitled Initiation?" And I was like, "No, I think that's Silent Night Deadly Night 4." And he goes, "Okay, thanks. Either way, I'm just gonna delete it and not watch it because I apparently added it to my Amazon Prime video queue."
That guy with that nose, though.
And I was like, yo, at least Silent Night Deadly Night 4 had Clint Howard and insect sex.
Yeah, can't fuck with that.
Yeah, and I think that, as fucking ridiculous as it is and as probably negative as I was on that particular movie in that retrospective series, I think that was probably a better movie than this particular Part 4. So before we get into actual opinions or what the movie's about, like I said, you can find more of our stuff up at deadairpodcast.net. And Find us on Facebook, like us there. If you listen through iTunes, you can subscribe, yada, yada, yada. Basically, just check us out. And, we broadcast live on Fridays, usually somewhere around 9 or 10 o'clock at night. You can always find that at deadairpodcast.net/live. We are recording this live tonight, so you can join in on the fun on Fridays and not have to wait for me to actually put it up in the feed. So with that being said, since Jesse seems to be doing such a good job about summarizing what these movies are about every time we talk about one, do you want to try your hand at explaining to the people out there that are listening to this what this particular movie is about? Because I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that I would bet that most of the people listening to this have not seen this movie. So
I
they should
would
also be aware. We're going to spoil it.
That's a safe bet.
I would totally agree with that. So basically, Deliver Us from Evil, R.I.P. Eric Bana, starts with this dude. Starts with this dude who stabs a couple, I guess, in a car, and he is all like into he's like a part of a Catholic cult thing where he basically does it.
I think it's called the church.
Yeah, the church, the Chiesa. He basically stabs this couple because they're gonna have premarital sex, and he's doing it for God. And then they try to find him, and he's like whipping himself, and he like makes some comment about the one priest like diddling little kids or something. And then they lock him up for like 30 years, and he looks exactly the same 30 years later.
With a fake beard, though.
He's got that fake beard, though. And he's like, I think he's like Mediterranean or Hispanic. I'm not entirely sure. And then he's let out on the loose, and then he goes after these teens that are staying at this house, and he starts like trying to stab them with his little sword knife thing, his little cross knife thing. And that's basically it. It's basically like a slasher in a house movie, because maybe the first half hour is setting up like all this really terrible storyline. It's all exposition and like hanging out with nuns, and then it's like this dude just stalking these teens for like an hour in like these shitty POV shots, and then like it's boring the whole time because it makes you think that you don't know who it is, but you're like, I know who the fucking killer is, I don't care. And then you just watch the teens get stabbed a bunch of times, and then you see a butt at some point. That's about it.
It's funny though, because you mentioned it's like they're like, hey, you don't know who's doing this, but like literally the whole first hour of the movie is just showing you exactly who's doing it and why he's doing it.
Yeah, it's a super problem, I think, with these movies. I mean, that was sort of like, that's my problem with the remake too, which we'll get to, but it's like you give away who the killer is and pretty much their reasons for doing everything they're doing, like from the get-go, and then you just have to watch them go after a bunch of teens for like an hour, and you're just like, the compelling part of those movies, like at least with the first movie, you didn't know who was doing it or why they were doing it. And same thing with a movie like, say, like Black Christmas or something, where you don't know what is going on, and that gives it a sense, like a thrilling sense. But if you have all the pieces in place, it's just like you're just watching people get stabbed, and it's like, well, this story is bad. This is not adding to anything or adding to a sense of discovery. I know what's going to happen, so it's kind of a bummer in a lot of ways.
Well, and like we were talking about earlier, this is one of those movies where I really feel like possibly there was a script that was out there, maybe called Deliver Us from Evil, just saying, where somebody was like, yeah, we can make this movie and we'll just call it Prom Night 4, and we'll just stick in a thing at the very beginning of the movie where the guy happens to kill these people at a prom.
Which happens to be Hamilton High.
Yeah, 1957.
And then the rest of the movie, these fucking kids won't even go to prom because they fucking skip prom in this movie.
Because they just
all that
They
money.
drive by the prom and they moon everybody.
Yeah,
And
they want to
dude's
get
like, look
lit.
at my butt. So when you
Yeah.
said butts, it's like dude ass.
They just want to have their balls all sore from getting drained all night.
So if you like fucking dude ass, this movie has got something for
Jesse
you.
does.
Yeah, so it was that part was fine.
And actually, there's fucking ridiculously enough, there is a reference. It's weird because this is also fucking stupid meta, like not good meta, but there's a reference to Jamie Lee Curtis and Prom Night, the actual movie, when they're in the fucking limousine going past the prom to this fucking cabin. So I guess first off, let's just talk about the fact of how this opens, right? So they have this fucking prom that's set in some time period that I'm not really sure. It looks like it's supposed to be like old timey, but it doesn't really. Like obviously Canadian money only went so far at the time that they made this.
They're trying to make it look old, but it's very clearly looking like it's 1989.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, then, like, they don't care that the guy is like 30 years older and he looks exactly the same.
Well, he's been in a coven, you know. He hasn't really been able. He's been kept in a dungeon, so he doesn't have access to like, you know, cigarettes or beer or anything like that. They can help make him age. All he does is grow a fake fucking beard. Okay, he grows a fake fucking beard.
Well, so that dude kills. So that dude kills these kids, right? And he's just like, and then he goes back to like his whatever, I guess you want to call it, the house where these people live, and they all find him, and he's basically like, they're like, oh, this guy is possessed by the devil, and this is why he's doing it, and why he's whipping himself, which is weird because it's like odd satanic possession, but religious.
Mm-hmm.
So then their I guess their answer, rather than like calling the police, is to take this dude and tie him to a bed in a room and just continually drug him so that he doesn't do anything. And so then there's about a half an hour of this movie where it's just this priest gets put in charge of him, and his whole job is just to go in and give this dude drugs and make sure he shaves him every now and then. And he can't do it right because at some point he decides he's not going to give him the drugs, and then surprise, surprise, the dude kills him.
He like wakes up like a zombie and then he kills him.
He grows to be super pissed off. Never mind.
And then he like gets out, and then they've got this whole other thing that's going on with these kids at like this Catholic school. It's got to be like one of the worst schools ever, and just one of the stupidest things. And they're basically going back and forth about these two girls and their boyfriends and how they're gonna go to the prom with them, but they're gonna skip the prom so that they can just have sex with them. And apparently, so then instead of going to the prom, we don't actually get a prom. They go up to this quote-unquote summer house, which this all takes place during winter, which has nothing to do with almost any part of the story except for the fact that that's why there's nobody living at the house at the time, I think. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't ever think prom out here was like during the winter.
That was always like May or June.
It is Canada.
Yeah, it was usually around the end of the year.
It is Canada.
That's true. They don't give a fuck.
I can't believe I'm
They're just like
defending that.
But so apparently that house, from what I understand, may actually be the place where that dude's like sect of his organization was before, and that's why he's going back there, and he's just totally doing like a Michael Myers,
taking the meat out of the fridge,
like pulling over people to pick them up hitchhiking and then murdering them and then fucking stealing their car. And then he just proceeds to drive up there and start to pick them off one by one and kill them.
And it's really boring.
And it takes forever, and he talks like Danny Torrance in The Shining. for whatever fucking reason. And then from there, eventually, I think the whole thing with the snow was supposed to be that they were trapped there because there was a snowstorm that was coming through, and that's why the cops
Okay.
couldn't get there. But they never really actually explained that. The only reason I was able to get that was because I was really like trying to figure out what that had to do with anything, because they kept kind of referencing it and showing
It's
you that there
snowing
was
outside.
snow.
I know.
Yeah, but they never really gave like a reason why we should care about that.
And you know what kind of upsets me too is they never give locations in these movies, so we're really not guaranteed that, hey, this is Los Angeles, hey, this is Canada. So it's like, oh, fuck. Make up your fucking mind.
But I mean, overall, this movie is just. I think the biggest problem is just boring. It's just got a bunch of spots that are really boring, and I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think I had like a lot of trouble getting through like the first 2/3 of this movie. I think the last part of it actually kind of had me paying attention, and I was kind of laughing just because it was so stupid. But I mean, I gotta say this movie is way closer to being an actual slasher movie than the previous two movies. It's just the problem is it's got all this like an hour before the fucking movie actually starts, and then you only get about a half an hour of the slasher movie. But I thought that was fairly entertaining, so I didn't think that was terrible. It kept my attention, and I kind of had fun laughing at that priest when he was like going after everybody and doing his little weird whisper thing that he does.
Like Eddie Redmayne and Jupiter Ascending.
Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah, pretty much.
Redmayne.
Eddie Redman? What?
Eddie Redmayne.
How to roll a
R.I.P.
blunt?
Red.
R.I.P.
Roll a blunt.
He's just
Oh.
Eddie Redmayne to get his Oscar this year. He's just gonna play as Down syndrome.
No.
He's just gonna be Down syndrome.
I keep seeing this shit on Twitter that's all just about Eddie Redmayne and biopics and like what Eddie Redmayne is gonna do next, and Eddie Redmayne is gonna be in a biopic of Eddie Redmayne playing somebody in a biopic.
Yeah,
Let's let that happen.
Yeah. So back to Prom Night 4.
Do we have to?
Obviously I mean, I guess Chad, since I know you've been waiting for this moment. How do you feel about this movie?
I fucking hate this movie so bad. It's the most boring piece of shit I have ever seen in my entire... It's worse than Dune. I'd rather be fucking sitting in a chair with one of those little eye-stretching things from fucking Clockwork Orange and have to be forced to watch fucking Dune, The Room, and Batman and Robin. I fucking hate this movie. I hate this movie. It ruined... And you know what? I'm gonna fucking say it. I know that the series was shit by then. It kind of ruined any chance of kind of going back and getting sequels and maybe fixing everything. I fucking hate this movie. In fact, this movie sucked so bad that they had decided to pull any plans to make Prom Night 5.
Really?
So, oh yeah, there was going to be Prom Night 5, and it got turned into that movie, The Club.
The Club?
Yeah.
Huh.
And it was originally going to be Prom Night 5, and I guess they were going to do some... I guess that they were going to go back and like make it, or some ties to the original, or they were going to, make it a little darker. This movie, the problem with this movie is it goes dark. It's not comical and it's not comedic, and I get that. That's it. That's okay. I get that. Fine. But everything in this movie is just like cliche after cliche, stereotype of a horror movie. Just, it's boring and it's just lazy, and I don't like this movie. It angers me. Like, I refuse to even ignore. I would rather watch the fucking remake.
I can feel the anger coming from you, Chad. You're like stuttering and losing your words. You are like truly offended by this film.
I'm more offended. You know what I would rather watch is the Sweet Blood of Jesus. Or
whoa.
I would rather watch
I gotta admit,
whatchamacallit.
The Sweet Blood of Jesus, like the first, I still maintain that like the first half an hour of that movie, maybe 40 minutes of it, is like one of the best unintentional comedies in a long time. Although, after seeing The Visit, like, although I think that it's much more intentional in The Visit, I would even have to take that back. But
anyway, here's my deal. I'd rather see fucking Ex Machina. I'd rather see fucking piece of shit. What was that Lazarus movie?
Jesus, Chad, you know that you're like the only person out there who hates Ex Machina, right?
Yeah, I know, and that's why I said it. Holy fuck!
Well, just
hated that movie.
saying, you got to put that context out there because
I don't fucking care.
When most people hear I'd rather watch Ex Machina, they're like, well, no shit.
Oh, okay, all right. No, well, that's fair. Okay. I don't know. Here's the deal. This movie sucks. I hate it. I hate everything about it. Anything that was going to happen afterwards I feel like there would have been a better chance had this movie been a success that we could have gotten, a lot more out of the series. Like, I think that...
Where would it have gone? Like, would you have wanted to see where it would have gone
yes,
after
I would have. I would have. Maybe, maybe not bring Mary Lou back. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we could have gotten a direct sequel to the original. Maybe we could have called it Prom Night 5 Return to Hamilton High or something. I don't know what the original Part 5 was going to be. All I know is that it was going to be, it was going to happen, and then they said, well, this this whole series has just lost us enough money, we're not really going to go through with it. And then that was kind of it, so, and then we had to wait 16 years for another movie to have a title with Prom Night, which... But
we'll cross that bridge when we get to
right. But here's my deal. Let me say this. As much as I hate this movie, as much as I think this movie should be buried in a E.T. landfill type deal, and just take every copy of every
fucking Prom Night 4.
Here's the deal. I hate this movie so much that if someone put this out on a double feature Blu-ray with Silent Night Deadly Prom Night 3, I would actually not even consider buying the damn set, just because I don't want my money going towards that shit. As much as I hate this movie, the crucifix scene is really the only somewhat redeeming scene in that whole movie, and even then, it's kind of lazily done.
No, which specific?
Okay, my fault. The scene where the dude burns the two bodies on a crucifix out in the woods. That's the only cool scene. Everything else is trash. Everything else is just...
But those bags of meat.
True. Here's something. Apparently, the blonde actress Joy Tanner, who... Also, the first time I saw this movie, I wanted to punch her in the face.
She's the one who's like, when she's talking to the nun, she's like, we were fucking.
Yeah, she's the bad girl. She's from Rochester, apparently.
Really?
Yeah. Not that I mean...
Hope I don't run into her on the street. She might try to fuck me.
You know what else I always thought, funny note, is I always thought she looked like the blonde girl from Step by Step that I didn't like. I can't remember her name right now. Stacy Keenan. My girlfriend just corrected me. I didn't like Stacy Keenan on Step by Step either, so she always reminded me of her, and that didn't really help matters.
So when was the first time you actually saw this movie?
I think I probably saw it on I probably rented Prom Night 3 and then Prom Night 4, and so I was probably in high school.
Okay.
So knowing me, I probably just grabbed a bunch of tapes, and Prom Night 3 and 4 were just together. Gosh, I'm so angry. That feels like therapy. I've been waiting a few weeks to just unload on this movie. Here's the other thing. Okay. Now
this how you really feel.
Okay, how the fuck did Brock Simpson get in this?
Brock Simpson.
Because he just plays like a fucking random priest or a
Dude,
like
his father is the fucking producer.
What the fuck? Why would you want to appear in this movie?
Because
You know, get that
apparently
star power.
Yeah, it's his
Yeah.
thing, man. Like, think about it. What else does he have going for him?
He's a hippie. I don't know. He
But
plays
I mean,
music.
you know, when your dad is the producer on a series.
You know what his character? You know what? I want to go back. His character, because I don't think I mentioned this in part 2. His character in part 2 always kind of reminded me of Joe Seeley in Elm Street Part 5 as Mark. He kind of reminded me of Mark, kind of in a strange little way. But
Well, you got a weird infatuation with Part 5 that I don't understand.
yeah, thanks for asking me to join that podcast, asshole. See, you've gotten me so angry. I'm turning against everybody.
You weren't even on, like, you didn't even make your debut on this podcast until well after those were recorded.
Well, let me know when the popcorn one comes out.
Oh, Jesus.
It's gonna happen.
R.I.P.
Okay.
We're going to
R.I.P.
record a
dignity.
commentary for popcorn.
Oh, yes, we are.
When we get the copy that we have to pay for, even though we fucking... Nah, I'm not going there.
I'd rather give money to that and just piss my money away than ever consider buying this movie.
I'd rather give money to Al-Qaeda.
than give money to
ISIS.
Popcorn and Prom Night 4.
Yeah, shit just got dark.
Ooh, you know what I would rather pay for? I would rather pay fucking get my cocks chopped off like in fucking Hostel than see this.
Oh, Jesus.
I would pay people to burn their copy of this movie. And I'm not talking like, hey, make me a copy. No, motherfucker. I'm saying I will pay you $5 to just destroy your VHS or DVD copy.
Chad, you better
Now that's
get the
it. Now
internet.
that's
You have
it.
to be careful with
That's
what you offer.
Yeah, you put it out there.
No. There's a disclaimer. That said, if you do this, I'm not really going to give you $5 because there's no contract. But this is how upsetting this movie makes me. I would actually pay people just to destroy their copy of this.
Wow.
Yeah. This movie angers me.
In
So-
your head, zombie.
Jesse,
I love that band. I love that song, by the way.
how do you feel about weird Mediterranean Spanish guy with a fake fucking theater beard?
Who doesn't get his medicine, so he wakes up
He needs a timeout.
and he whips himself.
He does that.
It's a bad movie. It's boring as fuck, and it is hard to sit through, and it seems like a cheap slasher horror movie that was made to, I guess, get a few dollars. I'm not sure what artisan or whoever put it out was thinking, but they did it. And
Well, I think at the time it was Live Entertainment.
all right,
Was what the company, and that became Artisan, which became Lionsgate.
gotcha.
Which is actually the same company that was putting out those terrible Silent Night, Deadly Night
Yep.
sequels to it.
And that's why the cover looks like so
The
much like
same.
it could have been a fucking Silent Night, Deadly Night sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just,
You know
I
what?
don't know where or who it was that they were paying to come up with the covers, but like the cover of this movie makes it look like it's gonna be like Fatal Attraction or some shit. But instead it's like weird, like religious
Lifetime movie.
fucking vengeance. Like,
It's bad.
You know what? You would ask me. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jesse. I really am.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay, I'm gonna let you finish. Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 was the greatest movie of all time. But you asked me earlier where I would have wanted to see this movie go. If Live Entertainment owned both Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Prom Night, I would have wanted a fucking crossover. I'm gonna let you finish, because I could go to the bathroom.
the problem is with that idea is that the Silent Night, Deadly Night series didn't even have a fucking storyline at that point. It was just almost literally random movies that they were like slapping together and putting that name on them.
Motherfucker, what do you think they're doing with these?
Well,
They
and
could
that's
have
what I'm
done
saying. So how can you really have a crossover unless it's just like a prom that takes place at Christmas time?
There you go. They could have a Christmas under the sea dance or something.
Silent Night, Deadly Prom Night.
Under
There
the
you
sea.
go.
So,
Under the
so
sea.
basically what you're saying,
All right,
Chad, is at this
Gilligan.
point, We just need to make Silent Night Deadly Prom Night.
The little sperm maid.
You know what? Someone call Zach Childwalker, whatever his name is, and tell him to make this
Child
movie.
Watcher.
Child Watcher, thank you. I've got to go to the bathroom. I can't take this. This movie's upsetting my stomach. I'll catch you bitches later. Oh, by the way, if you're still out here and I'm in the bathroom, it's horrormoviebarbecue.com. Peace out.
Damn, mic drop from Chad.
Damn.
That's not all he's gonna drop, apparently.
I know.
I'm still here, by
Drop
the
his
way.
lower intestines.
Shut up.
Night 4 makes Chad so angry that he has to shit. So Jesse,
Take a big old dump.
did you have anywhere else anything more that you wanted to say about the movie before Chad took over again?
Just blew in here and just blew a load all over my message.
Pretty much.
It's that's I mean I've said what I had to say. I said my piece. This movie's
You said
bad.
your piece.
It's a bad sequel. It's just bad. It's not good. It's boring. I was like falling asleep. It's it needs to be avoided.
You know, it's really weird
That's what I got.
because I do not think that it is a good movie by any stretch. In fact, I gave it a really low score. I think I gave it like a 3 out of 10.
Review.
Which is like pretty low. Like I don't generally go, much lower than 2 stars out of 5 when I'm reviewing movies, unless they're bad. But I don't know, like for some reason, it's like I feel like there could have been like I think part of it is the tone is so wildly different than the rest of the movies, because it is just so fucking dark. And the movie is like not only like dark thematically, but it's like somebody shot it and they don't know what lights are. You know what I mean? It just felt really cheap and like sleazy and just like really poorly shot. But for some reason, like I look back on it and I'm like, this movie's just kind of like out there. Like I still don't think this movie would get made today. And I think if it weren't for like the hour of it that is just so boring, it's setting up nothing that we couldn't have just set up in like 15 minutes, right? Because let's face it, like we could have established that the one girl's a slut and that the other girl is like a virgin and super religious, and that these guys are gonna take him to prom. We could have done all that in like 15 minutes. But it's like they almost...
No, but it takes forever to get there.
Well, because they fall into like the curse of... So let's talk about like Rob Zombie's Halloween, right? It's probably like...
Sure.
It might sound a little bit weird for a second, but the problem with that movie has, or at least that I remember that movie having, because I haven't seen it since it came out, but the problem is that they spend all that time explaining all the shit that happens before what we really need to know. You know what I mean? And that doesn't actually help us to feel any different about where things go, because at the end of the day, we just want to see this dude go and kill these people. So we don't need to see this dude's whole entire background. We don't need to see a half an hour of this dude watching him just to only let him escape. Like that is unnecessary. Get rid of that, right? 20 minutes gone from the movie. Now the movie's down to like 72 minutes, right? Maybe it's more watchable. But I think that like I said, I think that last half an hour, like as far as slasher films go in the early 90s, is not terrible. But I think it's just by that point, most people probably won't even still be watching it. So I think that somewhere in there's a fairly interesting movie with this, but I just feel like it was just done horribly wrong, and I don't think that the script that they were working off of, there was anything to save it. And apparently the guy who wrote this script also wrote several Steven Seagal movies, like Force of Execution, and with Ving Rhames and Steven Seagal, that's how you know, and Danny Trejo, Mark of Excellence. Maximum Conviction with Steven Seagal and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
God.
Yeah, basically, he wrote a whole bunch of garbage. And somehow made this movie. So I don't think that I could recommend this to anybody other than if you're watching these movies, you gotta kind of, be all in on it. But it's pretty bad. It's not good, and I obviously don't hate it as much as Chad seems to. And I don't even know. What did you rate this when you watched it anyway?
I think like a 1.
Yeah, okay.
I have to give it like a 1 star, I think.
Okay, so I think that sounds like I was a little bit higher on it.
Yeah,
than
1
you,
star.
but not by much. So
in your head.
Pretty shitty stuff, and not really a good movie at all. I just can't. It's got to have been interesting to be around that office when they were trying to figure out what to do with this series. And somebody's like, "Yo, I got this movie about this fucking priest that kills these people. Let's turn it into a prom night movie."
Yeah, it's not a prom night movie, and then they just throw it somehow together like that, and it's bad.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't be crazy. Like, doesn't it pretty much feels like it shouldn't be in this series at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I guess we'll leave it at that because I really don't have anything else to say about this movie except for, you can watch it if you want to, but be warned that it is not good. And that it's pretty baffling, except for that fake beard, though. gotta give it up for the fake beard guy who's in a bed for like 20
Mediterranean
years.
Spanish guy.
Mediterranean Spanish guy. He's Greek. He had to go there because the economy collapsed.
God damn it. Goddamn Greeks and their free everything.
Not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore.
You big nosed bastards.
R.I.P. Christianity.
R.I.P.
Catholicism. It's basically Rob Zombie if he was like a Catholic priest. All right, cool. So yeah, that's it for Prom Night 4. So if you're listening live, we are going to talk about the remake in a little bit.
Oh,
if
boy.
you are listening to this in the iTunes feed, then you can find that episode up there either already or very soon. So check that out. And like I said, if you want to check out any of the other episodes in the series or any of our other podcasts, you can check us out at deadairpodcast.net. We are on Facebook. If you do use iTunes, leave us a rating and or review. We would greatly appreciate that. And if you want to help support us, you can always go to deadairpodcast.net/Amazon, and that will take you to Amazon.com, and you can buy all of your dildos and weird Catholic sex whips.
You can screw up your Amazon recommended list.
Pretty much. You can buy Prom Night 4, and when you buy that, it will instantly just start recommending bad movies to you. It'll be like, because you watched Prom Night 4, you should watch The Sweet Blood of Jesus. And then you'll be like, oh, fuck. How did I get to this place in my life? I really don't understand what I did wrong. And Jesse and Chad's answer is just because Jeff made them watch this.
Mm-hmm.
So they always have somebody to blame for it. I have nobody to blame except for the fact that I wanted to sit down and watch these movies. So anyway, find all that stuff. Chad already told you where you can find him when he's not in the bathroom.
Taking a dump.
Jesse, do you want to tell people again in case they have not heard where they can find you on the interwebs?
You can go to google.com, and in the Google bar you can type in @DestroySuperman, and it will be there.
All right. Jesse's presenting. It will be there. It will always be there.
It will always exist, even when I'm long dead.
You probably will be. I mean, actually, all of this stuff probably will after we're dead.
Yeah, it will just exist in some huge garbage server spot in some dark part of the world where it's just on fire and it's exploding.
Somewhere like 20 years from now, someone's going to come across this Prom Night 4 episode, and they're just going to be like, what is this movie? And they're going to go watch it, and then they're going to commit suicide. I am on Twitter at DeadAirJeff. You can find me there, and like I said, search out the Dead Air Horror and Genre Podcast on Facebook and like us, yada yada yada. So with that being said, we will be back to talk about the Prom Night remake and wrap up this retrospective series in a little while. So, stick around, everybody. Thanks for listening. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And we will continue with this in a minute. So, until then, thanks for listening. And don't fucking die.
To the booty, oh Rudy. To the booty, oh Rudy. Oh, I got a girl named Sue. She knows just what to do. I got a girl named Sue. She knows just what to do. She rock to the east, she rock to the west, but she's the gal that I love best. To the booty, oh Rudy. Oh, Rudy, to the booty, oh, Rudy, to the booty, oh, Rudy, to the booty, oh, Rudy. Oh, I got a gal named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. Got a gal named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. She knows how to love me, yes indeed. But you don't know what she do to me. To the booty, oh, Rudy. Oh, Rudy, to the booty, oh, Rudy, to the booty, oh, Rudy, to the booty, oh, Rudy. Pop, pop, pop. Ah, to the booty, oh, Rudy. To the booty, oh 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 Rudy. Oh, I got a gal named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. Got a gal named Daisy. She almost drives me crazy. She knows how to love me, yes indeed. Boy, you don't know what she do to me. To the booty, oh Rudy, 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 oh Rudy, oh wop bop loo bop lop bam boom.
It's time to turn around, baby. Get your feet back on the ground, baby. Find out what's going down, baby. Yes, it's time to turn around. Time to turn around, baby. Get your feet back on the ground, baby. Find out what's going down, baby. Yes, it's time to turn around.
Nope.
Welcome to the Dead Air Horror and Genre Podcast Prom Night Retrospective Series. The episode that you are about to hear contains detailed plot spoilers for the film in question, so if you haven't seen it yet, you should go back and watch it before listening. But if you have seen it, or you don't mind it being spoiled, then have at it.
Prom night, everything is alright. Prom night, no more feeling uptight. Come with me tonight. Tell me you will love me forever. The feeling's right. It's prom night, and I know things will get better. Come and fly me away to a place where we can be. Lying in my bed, I hear
Is it Hoover Train?
Oh, we're turning in,
No, I won't.
3 keys to Smith 312.
Oh my God, you guys! This is it. This is all.
Oh my God, you guys.
Sure gonna miss you guys.
Seriously? Cheers.
Seriously.
Okay, everyone. Bridgeport High's prom king and prom queen are.
Who is it? Oh.
Lisa! Oh my God!
3 years ago, this guy, he got obsessed with a young female student. He went psycho. He's been in a maximum security prison up until 3 days ago.
Claire?
There's somewhere in this hotel.
Is anybody here? Hello?
No. I missed you.
What's going on?
He's locked all the exits.
Can't find Lisa. Please don't do that. Please.
I got officers down. I need backup now. He's not gonna stop until he gets her.
R.I.P. Idris Elba.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of the Dead Air Horror and Genre Podcast's Prom Night Retrospective series. I'm Jeff Kanopka, and tonight I am joined by the one and only Mr. Jesse Chesty Bartell.
The old tit fuck himself.
And Mr. Chad, he likes 'em young.
Victor Salva.
Hi.
Clown House.
What the fuck was that? It's a terrible one.
That Clown House, though.
Oh.
And tonight, we are here to talk about Prom Night, which is the quote-unquote remake that happened in 2008.
At least it happened at a prom.
To the exactly, and we'll talk about that. To the 1980 film that started this all up. So, gentlemen, every moment in your life up to this time has been preparing for you to sit down and watch Prom Night 2008. For better or worse.
This gives my life some semblance of meaning.
And we're gonna talk about why that's just an awful, terrible thing. And why our lives should all probably just be eradicated at some point. But first, if you're listening, you can find more of our episodes up at deadairpodcast.net. That includes all of the other episodes in this particular retrospective series, along with several other ones we've done, like John Carpenter. We did The Stepfather. We did Sleepaway Camp, Nightmare on Elm Street. A whole bunch of stuff. Candyman. Find all that up there. And find us on Facebook if you want to, and you can like our page and follow us that way. And there will be spoilers in this, so if you have not seen Prom Night 2008,
you're okay. You don't ever have to watch it.
Then your life is probably better than ours. But, you know, if you want to hear us talk about it, we're going to talk about shit like what happens at the end, which is just... We already know who the killer is because they show you in the first, like, fucking 5 minutes of the movie who the guy is. Which is kind of a problem, so... So anyway, this is the last movie in the series.
I'm gonna miss this.
And, no, you won't.
Yes, I am. What else am I gonna have to rant about?
Oh, there's
plenty to come.
Yeah, there's many other things.
Welcome to hell.
Many other things to complain about that will be happening. Okay. We'll figure that piece out. But as much as people rag on this movie, because it seems to be synonymous that whenever I've talked about this, everybody is like, yo, Prom Night Remake is the worst fucking... They treat it like it's the worst movie in the history
it's not.
Of genre cinema. To which... I gotta say, like, I don't really understand that viewpoint. Like, I can see where people would say it's a bad movie, but on the same hand, I don't know if I necessarily I don't think it's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is a good movie, but I'm just saying I don't think that it is the bane of my existence, like many people say that it is. And in fact, I would argue that it's not even the worst movie in this particular series. I have to say, I don't think that is the worst movie in the Prom Night series.
Nope.
Is it stupid? Yes. Is it obviously just a cash grab? Yes. Does it actually have a prom in it?
Yes.
Actually, yes.
Yeah, there is an actual prom.
There is more prom in this movie than all of the other movies combined. To be honest with you. So
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense. And also, this was the most financially successful of any of the prom night movies.
Now wait a minute. I have a comment because you had said, is it a quick cash cow? What generation or what age group was this trying to cash in on? Because I don't think any of like 15 or 16-year-olds were going to really know what the original Prom Night movie was, unless they're like, us, and they were spending time in a video store or something.
No, and here is the reason why Hollywood is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
They
One of them.
make titles, and they basically are just like, hey, this is already previously a movie or a series of movies, so therefore it's going to have a built-in audience. But then they also want to market to a specific demographic, which in this case they obviously wanted to market this movie to teenagers.
Which is fine.
Which is also fine, yes. But to the teenagers, it doesn't matter if it's prom night, other than the fact that, I gotta admit, it's kind of a good name for a movie, right?
It could have been called like, it could have been called the Idris Elba.
Idris Elba.
You know how many people don't even remember that Idris Elba was in this movie?
No.
Everybody.
Or
he looks the same, and now as he just did that.
James Ransone.
He's in there, yeah. He looks, but you can tell he aged, but.
Yeah, he aged a bit.
All 8 years after it was filmed.
But so to answer that question, Chad, like I feel like they were just trying to cash in on the fact that at the time, PG-13 horror franchise. I mean, so remakes were a thing in Hollywood, and they still are. But at this particular time, they were a big thing. Like every fucking movie that came out, and specifically, you want to get into that. The folks behind this movie are the same people that were behind the Stepfather remake.
I didn't see that one, so I don't have anything to comment.
Pretty bad. And we also have a Stepfather retrospective series out there for anybody who wants to watch that.
It's Stepfather 3, though.
Yeah, we did talk about Stepfather 3 as well. That movie's kind of batshit.
That movie's a piece of shit, and that's coming from me.
It's a piece of shit, but it's pretty ridiculous. Little boy in a wheelchair.
Wait. No. Don't give anything away. They have to download it to listen to your thoughts on the movie and what's going on in the movie. You can't just give it away.
I talked about Stepfather 3 for like an hour. I'm done.
Yeah.
Other than just saying little boy in a wheelchair.
Let's be fair. That's way more time than you need to spend talking about it.
Well, that's how we do things around here. We spent like 50 minutes a piece talking about 50 minutes to an hour plus talking about these movies. So, that's just how it goes, Chad. Chad,
yes.
We had like a 3-hour long podcast one time. It's just talking about what the fuck is like one of those bad movies that we reviewed.
That's true.
You go back and look at it, and we're like, this movie's a piece of trash, and then we talk for like 3 hours about stuff.
Then we just played Vanilla Ice.
That happened once, too.
Ain't got no time.
That happens frequently.
I haven't talked about Cool of Ice in a while. Let's talk about Cool as Ice instead of this movie.
No. So let's go back and just talk about specifically this period of time in Hollywood is when they were doing all these remakes, and basically they weren't even remakes. They were just, let's take this title and let's just make a new movie. And so that's what they were doing. They were aiming for teenage audiences, and all of us were, well, I don't know how old was Jesse in 2000?
2008, I was 20 years old.
So you were a little bit out of their demographic, but I was way out of their demographic.
Well, it came out in April, so I was 19, and I was a year out of high school.
So I was way out of their demographic, though.
I was 42.
Chad was like 57.
What
you don't know is Chad is really a 65-year-old man, and he just likes talking to young boys.
Oh my gosh. Okay, now wait a minute. Wait a minute. I work with kids, because now that's gonna just sound terrible.
This is gonna affect
more
your
that you
career.
keep saying that. Yeah. Please refrain from doing that.
All right.
That's like me saying that, oh, Jeff hacks internet's, on Obama's asshole or something.
That's fine with me.
I mean, I would do that.
He's a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
would. Yeah. No, I was talking about Obama, but you're not bad looking either.
But that's why this movie got made. So a couple things. We are not the target audience for this movie.
Mm-mm.
Number one. Number two, it came out at a time when all this other stuff was. And number three, like all these people that seem to be so angry about this remake. Do you really have that much love for the original Prom Night? Because after all of us talking about this series, I don't think that any of us would say that the original Prom Night was anything special.
Well, I say that because I'm removed from everything, right? Like I say that as someone who watches it, years later, removed from context of anything. That I just see it as a movie and therefore just judge it as one, as opposed to like it being part of like a theater going experience. And I was really young and it had a huge impression on me and stuff like that.
Yeah, but how many people that complain about this movie were actually in that demographic, though? That would have actually seen Prom Night in the theater. No, the original in 1980. How many people would have seen that movie? Like, that you think are like? Because everybody that I know that's saying that this movie is a piece of shit.
I know
right around my age.
I know one person that saw this movie and was furious that it was made, and she's like a huge slasher fan, but she's also like in her 40s, so she doesn't really count. But like, I think she's the only person that was really upset that this movie was made.
No, there's a lot of people apparently, because every time I posted anything about this, everyone was like, "Why the fuck are you watching that?" Or "That movie's like the fucking worst thing ever." And
R.I.P. Jayla Libs.
So just a spoiler for my actual thoughts on the movie. I think I gave it like 1.5 stars on Letterboxd, and I was told that that's about 3 stars higher than it deserves. To which I said, so this movie is supposed to be like negative 1.5 stars? Like, come on, guys! I saw The Gallows this year. All right, I watched the fucking Gallows this year, and I hate to tell you, but Prom Night, the remake, is about 3 times more interesting to watch than The Gallows.
Let's bring something up. Around this time that this movie was remade, we were getting like at least 2 or 3 remakes a year, probably
more
maybe.
than that.
You had the Fog in 2005.
And then you also had was this the same year? No, this was a year before the Friday 13th came out and My Bloody Valentine, which I actually enjoyed both. And I also remember going and paying to see When a Stranger Calls, and I think that that's a worse movie than this, actually.
I don't. This isn't When a Stranger Calls.
No, and I get that, but what I'm saying is,
I don't. I thought that movie was more entertaining.
It was boring. I thought it was boring. The only thing that I've only seen half of this movie. Every time I try to watch it, I just kind of give up halfway. But the thing is,
so wait, did you say that you haven't seen the whole movie?
No, because I already know what's going to happen. It's very clearly obvious.
But
They
wait.
give the story. Wait a minute. Hold on. Suck my dick. I know it's obvious. If they didn't explain the story beforehand, I would have been fine with it. But there's no mystery in this. We know who is the killer. We know that he's going to get taken away. Did he get taken away at the end? Did Idris Elba? Did he not? Because he played the cop, right? Did he not arrest him? And did he?
He got done murdered. Like
who?
He got
Idris Elba?
killed. No, the fucking killer.
Okay, did Idris Elba, was he the one that killed him? Or okay, there you go. I just guessed it. Boom. Didn't even need Wikipedia.
What about poor James Ransone, though?
R.I.P.
To be so-and-so.
Oh, and here's the other thing that's interesting about this is internally there was actually talk about doing a sequel to this one. So if they had actually done that, if people hated this movie, they probably would have hated the sequel as well.
Well, here's the thing, though. It makes sense. This movie was made for $20 million. It made almost $60 million.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't they make a sequel to it?
It probably would have been like one of those like straight to DVD, like the movies you see on like in Redbox. I'm assuming.
And it would have made money.
Yeah.
I'm sure. There's some fucking teenager out there who's gonna rent it. There are people out there that exist and their favorite movie is Prom Night 2008. I'm
And
not
you know
even
what?
kidding you.
You know what? More power to them. If it's like no irony or sarcasm, good for them. Great. I think that's great. Do I think that this is the most exciting movie in the world? No. Do I think that it's a good slasher? It's not a slasher. That's the issue. Is it a good teen movie? I'm not a 15-year-old girl that I know of, so I can't say that. It's a teen movie though.
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
Right.
I might be, but I'm not aware of it if I am.
Exactly. But I'm not the audience. I'm not who this movie was made for. I'm just someone who liked Prom Night 2 and Prom Night 3, and I guess to a lesser extent, kind of, sort of, not Prom Night 1. So all I know is the origin movie, what they're remaking.
Story.
Yeah, I like it, and that's another thing is I'm kind of glad they modernized it because the whole issue of teachers sleeping with their students, as disturbing as it is, it's real, and it's not really. There's not a lot of movies that do that, and this movie kind of, said, hey, this guy was crazy about some blonde girl. Who was it? Brittany
Snow.
Brittany Snow. Whatever. Same thing.
R.I.P. Pitch Perfect.
Oh no. But honestly, there you go. But honestly, I'm kind of happy that they didn't just remake the original completely, and I'm kind of glad that they did their own different story because it is a more updated, modern story, which is probably the best thing they could do. But it's not a good horror movie. It's not a good thriller. It's just a teen movie that people are going to probably watch if it's on for background noise.
Well, I mean, it has the same problem that I said that the last movie has, in that it kind of gives away everything up front, and then you're left with just watching, you're just like, okay, let's just get to the point now. And there's this weird, hemming and hawing about, we're going away to college, are we going to be able to be boyfriend and girlfriend?
The Vitamin C song plays in the background.
Mm-hmm. And, you're just like, all right, let's get there. And then you're, watching the cops trying to figure out who's doing it and where he is, and you're like, I know where he is. Why do I care about how the cops are going to get there?
Well, so I guess before we get into the intricacies, or lack thereof, of the plot here, Jesse, do you want to tell people what this is actually about? Since you've done such a wonderful job.
I'm so fucking good at this job.
Do it, baby.
Yeah, this is okay, so it starts with a flashback of Brittany Snow coming home and then seeing her parents brutally murdered by this weirdo dude. And this weirdo dude just wanted to get with Brittany Snow, and she wasn't about that, so he stabbed her parents a bunch in the chest. He just
teacher.
He basically likes to lean against people and just stab them in the chest 8 times. That's his thing. And he just does that to everybody. And then, so she's traumatized with that. She goes to live with her aunt or someone, and she's still haunted by this. And then homie gets out, and he's coming back for Brittany Snow, and and unfortunately it happens all around sort of this pivotal moment in her life, when she's going to prom and she's thinking about the bigger questions, and she's trying to keep it together with her douchey ass frat bro boyfriend, and it and then she basically all her friends get killed one by one because that's what happens when you know people, and then and then homie slowly comes after her, but then the James Bond who's too street to be James Bond shows up, and he tries to figure it all out and save her because he knows, he's onto it, and it all coincides at the end, and there's a climactic moment,
Yeah.
slow mo, I believe, and then that's it. Then we have the movie.
And at the end of the trailers, or at the end of the credits, it turns into Miami Connection.
Yep, and then there's ninjas riding motorcycles, and it's great.
Pizza, yeah.
Yeah, it's pizza. I'd watch that.
Dude, I would totally watch that, a remake of Prom Night and Miami Connection. Oh my gosh.
No, I just want pizza, you guys.
Columbini's R.I.P.
No, R.I.P. my toilet if you come over and eat Columbine.
Yeah, I'm not allowed at Jeff's house anymore just because...
My wife has banned him from the bathroom.
But what she forgets is there's a bathroom downstairs, too.
Oh, God, no, that's my personal domicile. You stay away.
Do you, like, blow it up all up the back and everything? Like,
It looks like the toilet from Saw.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into details here, but the next day after the last time Chad was over, my wife came over and was just like, so, what exactly was going on last night? What are you talking about? We were just hanging out and drinking beer and eating pizza. And she's like, no, like, what happened with Chad? And I was like, oh, and she's like, because our room is on the other side of the wall from the bathroom, and she's like, I just heard him in the bathroom moaning like, all night.
I was thinking of Mary Lou Maloney again.
I was like, oh, well, he insisted that we get pizza from this place, and apparently all he had eaten was soup that week.
Yeah, that was my fault. And that's apparently what's happening this week. So, poop. Yo, but Blueberry's out now, son, so you know what that shit means.
It's dangerous.
I gotta get them monster cereals.
Ooh.
I don't have any of them yet, because I keep going to Target out here, and they don't have any.
Wait,
sad.
what? No,
Yeah.
no. Dude, no, Targets aren't getting them. You gotta, like, go to, like...
Targets?
Well, they don't have them yet. They only have, like, the little, like the Blueberry and Frankenberry treats.
Where can I get Count Chocula? Because I need it to make this beer that I'm making.
CVS and Walgreens. Check your pharmacies first.
Okay. Because I need to. I
Go
seriously
for all
need
your
to get
cereal needs.
Count Chocula because I am making a pumpkin stout, and I'm going to make it with Count Chocula and real pumpkins.
At this point in the podcast, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Random Discussion Horror Movie Barbecue Podcast, where we talk about poop, food, pizza, and occasionally a movie.
Horror Movie Barbecue Podcast.
R.I.P. Eddie Spaghetti.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Nope. Here lies Eddie Spaghetti. Get it? Oh.
So, anyway, yeah, so that stuff happened in this movie, and then this got made. So I guess my thing here is this movie has this terrible, horrible, awful reputation surrounding it, to which I personally don't feel it lived up to at all. Now, again, that's not me saying this is a good movie. It's not me saying that I recommend this movie, and then we will discuss that a little bit more. It doesn't sound chatty. So, Jesse, as somebody that was forced to watch this against your will, how did you feel about this movie? Did it meet the horrible expectations that everybody had put in your head going into it?
I definitely did not. I think I disliked part 4 more than I disliked this one. I think I rated them the same. I think
That's what I did.
Both 1 star. But like for this one, it was like a really glammy, sparkly, sort of one-note horror movie for teens that was probably really effective. And I think it does that well. But unfortunately, like when you're someone like us or whatever, you kind of you expect more, and it doesn't deliver anything. It doesn't add anything or do anything differently. It just was sort of made to tap a vein and then get out real quick, and I think it does that. You know, I think it probably did that well. I mean, looking at the numbers, I am aware that it did well, but I didn't like have a raging hate for it. I just found it sort of sort of, I just felt too old for it, and consequently just did not feel invested in any of it. I think structurally it's not good. I don't think that I think Elba's good and Brittany Snow's pretty good and the rest of the cast is pretty forgettable, and the killer is just sort of shaved head scary man, and that's just not interesting. But that's not his choice. That was probably the studio's choice. But it's just, to me, it's just rather boring and shiny, and I had no. It came off like a television show, like that's what it felt like. It felt like a television show. It felt like something MTV would put out. And
that was one of the things a lot of people complained about, was they were just like, "Where's the blood?" And I'm like, "It's a fucking PG-13 movie." Like, so, personally, my opinion is this really isn't a horror movie. It's more of a thriller, if you want to get into that. You know what I mean? Because there's not really any. There's not really any horror. There's not really a whole lot of suspense in this movie or tension. There is some stalking, and you kind of know what's going to happen, and you're just waiting for it to happen. But again, because of the fact that we just know that this dude is just out to get this girl, which, quite frankly, if people want to talk about logic in this movie, so if you're Idris Elba and you're like, yo, homeboy is going after this girl, and I know that she's going to be at the prom.
Guys, that's way too straight.
Go to the prom. Would you fucking just be like, yo, you need to leave the prom and come with us? Or would you be like, yo, let's just hang around the prom and just make sure that nothing happens?
Right, it's weird.
Like, none of this shit makes sense, because they find out this dude escaped, and they're like, yo, he's coming after her. So what do they do to try to protect her?
Nothing.
Not a whole lot. They just keep going and surrounding the house, and I'm like, at this point, they should be doing the shit that happens in, like, the Terminator, where they bring her into, like, the police station and just fucking keep her, under lock and key until fucking homeboy shows up and blows up the police station. Which would have been a whole different movie. But, maybe a better movie. So yeah, okay, logic, I get it. And so, alright, everyone wants to complain about this and that and the other thing, but again, at least this fucking movie had a prom in it. Like, that played a prominent, get it, role.
Okay, alright. I don't get it.
But, it was at least something that was integral to the movie, whether or not it was stupid and forced, because everyone's like, you guys, this is prom. We're supposed to enjoy this. And they had the whole...
This is the best time of our lives. We're never going to forget this. Oh my
yeah,
God.
and they kept saying that shit, and then they kept showing, like, the fucking pictures. And what about... So, okay, we could all complain and be like, it's not realistic that a high school would get this high-end fucking hotel and rent out the fucking place
That's
to
not
have
true.
their prom.
My prom was at a hotel like that.
Well, somebody pointed out the fact, though, that the fucking hotels will not let you book rooms.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't do that. Fuck that shit. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's not realistic, Chad. Come on.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that's what everyone's complaining about.
But this movie also exists in the world of rich white people. Exists in the world of, like, rich white people that give no fucks about their budgets. And actually, from what I understand, the dude who directed this, that Nelson McCormick dude, actually did a bunch of research on proms and to find out, like, how they were, and then just decided, like, fuck it, like, it's going to be more interesting if we put it in this really nice, really expensive hotel that is not at all realistic. And you know what? Like, they made these decisions for a reason. They made it because that's what they thought that teenagers want to see. Because even though their proms might be held in some gymnasium where the whole place reeks of asbestos
and dead prom queens.
Yeah, and pee, like, stuff
Wait
like
a
that.
minute. How great would that have been if they had had a line, if they were in, like, a high school gym and they're like, oh my gosh, it smells like someone died in here. What, did someone light up the prom queen? Oh my gosh. Get it? Get it? It's a reference to the other... Forget it.
And that's the other thing, is I can't help but wonder, like, how many people were actually expecting them to put out a remake of Prom Night 2 because that seems to be the one everybody likes.
Mm-hmm.
But let's face it, that's not going to fucking happen.
That could have been done on a very low budget. It could have been. It could have been.
And like 10 people would have gone to see it.
I would have just by, loyalty alone, which always gets me in trouble.
But, again, I'm not necessarily defending this movie because I don't find a lot of redeeming qualities about it. Like Jesse said, I gave it like the same rating that I gave Prom Night 4, but I still think it's kind of better than Prom Night 4. Like if somebody was like, "Yo, here's Prom Night 4, and here's Prom Night 2008,"
they got a gun to your face.
You have to fucking watch one of these. I would be like, "Yo, I will take Prom Night 2008, please," because at least Idris Elba, Brenda Snow, I guess. Like, I'm all right with that.
Deputy so and so.
I can deal. Like, it's not, and that's the thing is, it's not poorly made. It's just not a good movie.
There's no effort.
But at the same time, it's not like offensive, and it's quite frankly, it's not nearly as boring.
No,
it just doesn't have anything that I haven't seen a million times. But it's not like a half an hour, 45 minutes of a guy watching another guy with a fake beard in a bed. Which, for anybody who hasn't listened to it, is a reference to what we talked about when we were discussing Prom Night 4, which is a really bad movie.
It really is.
And Chad really got angry at that.
Yeah, I did.
So,
let me ask you guys something. Okay. Because our friend Phil posted that
he fucking hates this movie.
Yeah, I know. And he had said, he had gone on a little mini rant himself about how R-rated movies should never have PG-13 ratings or remakes. Do you guys agree with that whatsoever, or do you have a different take on it? Like, would it have been different had it been R? Because I know there's like a director's cut out there, isn't there?
Well, there's an unrated version, but the unrated version doesn't really have... It's like literally you're talking like 30 seconds to a minute.
It doesn't matter then.
It doesn't matter. And getting upset and saying that a movie that was rated R shouldn't have a PG-13 remake is missing the point of the remake, which is to make money. And we live in a society where, quite frankly, there are some exceptions to the rule, obviously, with stuff like Straight Outta Compton and some other things that have done really well as R-rated movies. But most of the time, Hollywood's looking for 4-quadrant movies. And if you're making a movie for a teenage audience, why would you give it a rating that's going to exclude 3/4 of that teenage audience? Why would you do that? I mean, Hollywood is not run by people who love movies these days. It's run by businessmen, and you know what? That's fine. I get it. Like, you're in a business to make money. I think that there's probably a line somewhere that you can kind of try to satisfy both needs, but realistically, that's not the way that it goes, right? So, but it doesn't bother me that there are. So, The Ring was a PG-13 remake, and
that was really good.
That's a really fucking good movie. There are some exceptions to the rule. And again, I am not one of those people that ever will stand up and say that a rating is what is going to make a movie good or bad. A movie does not need to have, gore and tits and fuck words. Like, it doesn't need to have these things. But if it's something, like if you're making a movie that needed to... So if you were making a Serbian film and being like, here's a PG-13 version of it, then I would be like, yeah, there's no fucking point in that, right? There is no point in that. But a movie like Prom Night that didn't really have much of any of this stuff to begin with, there's no reason that they couldn't do a PG-13 version of it.
If the original Prom Night movie was released now, let's just say that the Prom Night series never happened. If that first Prom Night movie was released now, the way it is, the way it looks, nothing was changed, it would be considered PG-13.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anything really super R-rated about that. I just think that at the time, I feel like all slashers just got the R rating. So automatically, Prom Night 1 is a pretty bland movie when it comes to like blood and all. So, I definitely think that there's a lot of movies that would be rated PG-13, and that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, no, I mean I think so. Just by like and there's movies that came out that were rated PG, like Jaws would never get a PG these days. Jaws would be PG-13 easily, if not almost an R.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I mean, like I said, the ratings to me, I don't care what it's rated. I just care about the content of the movie.
Exactly.
And I mean, I've seen way worse. I've seen like more worse movies this year than this movie. Like I've seen probably at least 5 of them that I would say are worse that came out in 2015 that are worse than this movie. Now I guess if I was world's #1 diehard fucking Prom Night fan, I might get offended by it, but I just have a hard time believing that person exists.
Okay, so I was on the Fangoria boards when this movie was first announced. It was like announced in like 2005 or 2006. Yeah, that sounds right. And there was maybe like mild annoyance, and I just still remember thinking, who the fuck cares? But like I said, I know one person that was super offended that it was made, and that's just me. I just don't get the being angry over a fucking remake. Just don't fucking see it.
Well, and that's
that's the thing. If you don't acknowledge it, it doesn't fucking exist.
It's like Freddy Krueger.
Exactly. Movie's over.
You gotta wish it away, guys.
R.I.P. Wes Craven.
R.I.P.
Pour out some
Robert Englund
for the homie. He's not dead yet. Come on, Jesse. Stop jinxing.
Wes Craven?
No, Robert Englund.
Oh, don't you fucking jinx us, you motherfucker. The second he gets a cold, we're sending him to like the greatest hospital in the world. We're not losing any more of these motherfuckers. And Angus Scrim, it just got said that he's very ill too. So fuck. I hate this fucking.
Well, now,
anyway.
Going back to what you were saying, though, like, if they were to be like, yo, here's the fucking Friday the 13th remake and it's going to be PG-13, I'd probably have a little bit of an issue with that.
Maybe. Because that movie's always been consistently R. I mean, the remake was R too, right?
Yeah.
It has to be.
I think both of the Nightmare and Friday the 13th, they were both R movies. So
I just don't. I think it's silly that we're getting upset about the rating when it's really the content everyone should be upset about.
Yep.
Just like you said, but I don't know.
And again, like, do you need to get upset, or do you just say, this is obviously not a movie that's for me? I mean, I never watched it until recently because I was just like, that doesn't look like a movie for me. But then, when we watch these, we watch them in the series, we watch them in order, we watch them within context of the series and not necessarily as just their own thing.
And you know what I just thought, and I've always said this, is if it's a PG-13 movie, that should be a challenge to, to kind of make it scarier and in creative ways that you can still get away, with it.
All I gotta say is The Conjuring was supposed to be a PG-13 movie.
Okay.
And it only got an R rating because the MPAA was like, yo, this movie's too scary. So,
okay, sounds great.
If The Conjuring can exist in a world where it should be PG-13, and that movie scared the crap out of me, like had me fucked up for like days, like there's nothing wrong with a PG-13. It's fine. Like it's what you do with it. And this movie just didn't do anything with anything. It was like a fucking this was like a Lifetime movie. It was just like a thriller, fucking like.
No, like I said, it could have been on MTV. Like it could have been a
Yeah.
show on
It could
MTV.
have been Scream. It could have been fucking like, you know what? Like, did you guys see that My Psycho?
Yeah,
Sweet
Super
16?
Psycho. Yeah, it's essentially the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty
Mhm.
much, and that movie was goofy as fuck, and I was alright with it just because it had Juliana Guile in it, and she's
Oh dear.
the naked chick in Friday 13th remake who is just super fucking hot. So
Dude,
I
you
was
know
like,
what?
yo, I will watch that movie, and I did.
The women in that Friday the 13th remake were probably hotter than any of the others in that entire series.
For sure.
Just saying.
Dude, her nude scenes alone are worth I didn't even like that movie when it came out, but I bought it just so I could like
Jacket.
watch. No, but so I could like rewatch those scenes and be like, yo, naked chick.
I actually thought it was a pretty good remake. But
You know-
again, I'm not a Friday 13th fan, so
Well,
I
the
thought it was
more
pretty enjoyable.
the more that I watched it, the more I liked it. So
Yeah.
Like the first time I watched it, I was like, that was boring. But then I was like, I went and saw it again. I was like, it's not that bad. And then I watched it the third time, and I was like, all right, I'm all right with this.
I thought Jason was. Well, you know what? We'll save it. I'm sure. But
Yeah, we'll get to
liked
that
it.
at some point.
I liked it.
Time.
Yeah.
But this is a movie I have really no desire to rewatch.
Mhm.
But I don't. I guess the problem is like, so some people might sound like I'm defending it, but I'm not really defending it. I'm just saying it's not the worst movie ever.
Mhm.
I feel like this movie has such a bad rap that it doesn't necessarily deserve. I don't think it deserves people's attention, but I also don't think that this is the, I don't know, cornerstone of bad movies.
Mm-mm.
I don't feel like this needs to be the example of everything that's wrong in cinema.
Mm-mm.
Or everything that's wrong in genre cinema. Like there's, you want to look at everything that's wrong in genre cinema. Just again, look at the fucking Gallows. Like that is everything that is wrong with the genre currently.
Mm-hmm.
And at least this movie, was a fairly high budget horror movie, quote unquote.
It's nice when a horror movie gets a good budget.
And sadly, like, we're not really we don't see that many $20 million genre movies anymore. Like at this
they're all
point,
made for like $1 million or $5 million.
yeah, for under $5 million. Like, and it's something I found out recently was that apparently the reason we keep seeing that stuff is because Jason Blum has or Blum, or however you say his name, he's got like a deal with Universal where as long as his movie, like whatever movie he's producing, is under $5 million, they just leave him alone. So as long as anything's under $5 million, he can just get it made. Which is why we're getting all these movies that are within that. And you know what? Like, I'm fine with that. And it's alright. I mean, sometimes we're going to get shit, but, did this movie need to be $20 million? Probably not.
Not really.
But you know what? It was competently edited together. It was put together competently. It's got a Nicolas Cage connection because the writer J.S. Cardone directed 8mm 2.
Mm-hmm. Which is not a good movie and doesn't have
Yeah.
Nick Cage.
I know, but it's still related. It's the 6 degrees of Nicolas Cage separation.
It's there. Both those movies came out in the same. Oh no, sorry. I'm thinking The Fog came out the same year as 8mm 2.
Yeah, but he's done a bunch of other movies that are questionable. And like I said, he wrote The Stepfather, which Nelson McCormick also directed, and quite frankly, I thought that was probably worse of a movie than this one. Just because that one was very much like, at least with the original Stepfather movie, like you had fucking Terry Quinn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Great.
he was giving like an iconic performance. So
We need
without
to
him, it didn't
order
make any
around
sense.
here.
But like, what's the fucking worst thing that you're gonna get in here? Is there's no Leslie Nielsen? Like,
No fart machines. R.I.P. Ted
You know
Danson.
so I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, is not good, but I don't feel offended by it.
It's not good, but neither is the first one.
And that's kind of what I'm going back to, Like, I mean, we're gonna talk about how we feel about these movies. Like at this point, like let's take a look and say how do we feel about this series as a whole. So, I mean, we've seen all of the movies now. Most of us have. Chad didn't apparently finish this one. But so Chad, how do you feel about the Prom Night franchise? Like how do you feel about it, and have your feelings changed after having sat down and watched all of these, recently? Together as a whole.
Together as a whole, it as a fan, my love of Prom Night 2 is still at an all-time high. Prom Night 3, I'm okay with. The other, I mean, but that's only 2 out of 5, so, I mean, technically that would just be bad. I mean, technically, just based off that alone, it's kind of bad. I mean, if I had liked 3 or 4 out of 5, I would be like, oh yeah, no, it's a good series. I don't think that it's a good series only because there's no order. Going back to the Terry Quinn, there's no order. There's no real continuity. There's no characters that we really care about. Each movie is their own movie. It's like watching 5 episodes of Tales from the Crypt, essentially.
But it would have to be season 7 of Tales from the Crypt when they were in England and they were all terrible.
Yeah, the bird knows.
That fucking season is awful.
I hate that season, but I have it just by default.
Well, yeah, you gotta own it.
But if I was to just sit down and if someone was to say, oh, rank this, series, I'd say it's not a good series.
Okay.
It's not like Sleepaway Camp where I get enjoyment out of each movie in some weird way, or it's not like Saw or Nightmare on Elm Street where I like the majority of the movies, but maybe 1 or 2 movies may suck. It's just like 2 movies and that's it for me.
All right. So Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel that you've grown as a human being from watching?
I feel like as watching this, I was really able to experience a part of me that's not been opened before. I really was able to speak my truth, and my chakras are aligned. No, I think it's a pretty bad series as a whole. It seems like a series that was created in a knee-jerk fashion to the times, and somehow it got caught up in being a cash cow and something they could just slap a name on, and it was like the middle child that just everyone just kept ignoring, and it was kind of turned out to be a shitty kid and nobody liked it anyway. And I think of all the movies, I think there's only one really like great one, and that's the second one, and I use great very loosely, but I think that the only one that's really solidly entertaining and interesting and different is the second one. And the first one's fun and all, but I think that the second one really hits, like it finds its motivate, it's like movement and speed, and I dig that one. And you just I think that it's a series that should remain gone. It shouldn't do anything anymore. I don't see the appeal to the series. I don't know what makes the series other than it being at a prom night. But
Which doesn't even count because it's not in like half the movies.
Right. So it's just, I think it is one of those things. I'm glad I watched all of them now, but it's a pretty lackluster series as a whole. It doesn't need to continue.
Yeah, and I gotta agree. Like, I think looking back on this, it's pretty weak sauce. Like, as far as like a franchise goes, and I think that part of the biggest problem is that this is really one of the series that like almost none of the movies have anything to do with each other. either in story or in tone. They don't feel like a cohesive whole. And, oddly enough, like, the best one in the series is the second one. And again, has nothing to do with the first one. I think that the first one is not a very good movie in some ways, but I feel like it's at least important, especially like I rewatched Scream last weekend, and there's so much stuff in that movie that's directly like lifted right out of Prom Night. And I have to say again, I think that if we didn't have Prom Night, we would not have Scream, and to me that would not be a good thing. So I'm happy that Prom Night exists because of that, and I think that that is important. But as far as my personal feelings on the movie as a film, not so good. Like, I mean, I think that it is probably like the second best movie in a franchise of 5, where pretty much even being the second best means that you're just kind of okay. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think that's ultimately what the problem is, right? Because I think when I looked at like the ratings I gave these, I think like Mary Lou, I gave like a 7 out of 10 or something like that, and the rest of them like were like 5s, if even. Like, so you had like a 5, and then I think like Prom Night 3 I gave maybe like 2.5. So yeah, it was about another 5, and then it just dropped down to like 1.5 that I gave to 4 in the remake, and again, it's I think the remake is more competently put together. But I guess if I had to rank these, it would probably be 2, 1, 3, remake 4.
All right.
I don't know if you guys disagree with that or not. I mean,
2, 1, 2, 1, 3. Oh man, and then it's just like taking like pieces of shit and just putting them next to each other and going, which one is better?
Chicken salad into chicken shit.
Yeah, it's the
the other
2, 1, 3 remake 4.
Yeah, that's so you right on where I am.
Yeah.
I'd go 2, 3 remake 1. Oh no, wait a minute. Remake. No, 2, 3. Yeah, remake, then 1, then 4 doesn't exist in my mind.
Yeah. So all right. Well, that's fair enough. I mean, I can't blame you. I mean, that first Prom Night is like, I feel like maybe some people, like, I probably am being kinder to it than I need to, but that's only because I have a little bit of nostalgia from seeing it like when I was in high school type deal. If I were to have just watched that movie for the first time recently, I may not look back so kindly at it. It's a weird fucking movie, but like I said, I think it's one of those weird things where I gotta say that the significance that it has on other movies is actually something to look at. But it's all good. So yeah, okay. So I guess the verdict of this is Prom Night 2008 is not a horrible piece of shit like everybody says, but it's not a good movie at all. It's one of those things where you're just like, all right, so is being like the worst movie ever versus being a terrible movie necessarily like a difference? And it sounds like we've all come to similar conclusions, which is, I guess, surprising and not surprising at the same time. Although I think Chad still hates Part 4 more than anybody.
There is no Part 4.
Part 4 is like, Chad needs to like have a colon cleanse. He doesn't need to like
I just did.
Go to the store and buy things. He just has to like think about Prom Night 4. And he immediately cleans himself out. So, all right, cool. Well, that's gonna wrap it for this retrospective series as a whole. So, thanks everybody for listening, and hope you guys enjoyed us talking about these movies for like 5 hours total ish. I don't know if Jesse or Chad ever want to do another retrospective again.
I would love
after
to.
having watched these.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do another prom night retrospective. Guys.
Well, I think, and I guess spoiler alert, I think probably the next thing we're going to do retrospective wise is probably going to be Wes Craven retrospective.
That's a great idea.
And that's
I think
going to
that's
be
something we can all look forward to, actually.
and that's going to be spread out a little bit more than this, because we're not going to be like trying to do that in like 2 or 3 weeks, because we're talking like 23 movies, I think. So
Oh, good gosh, yes.
it's going to be, it's not
That
quite,
Swamp Thing, though.
It's kind of on the Carpenter level. I don't know exactly how we're going to do it yet, but kind of the way that I've imagined doing it is doing shorter versions of the normal podcast and doing like one episode of the Dead Air Show and then one movie for the Wes Craven retrospective each week. So and even at that rate, it's going to take like 6 months.
Maybe we could do like just a tribute show to Wes Craven, maybe like.
Well, that'll fit in with it. I mean, it's essentially going to be the probably the first episode. I mean, it's unfortunate, his passing kind of landed at a bad spot for us with trying to fit it in. I really feel like I wanted to say some things, and I know I put a lot of stuff out on Twitter, and it's one of those things though where it's like, well, I didn't want to just like jump in and be like, hey, here's a 15-minute us saying the same thing that everybody else is saying. And really, like, if I'm going to look at it, I'd rather go back and look at all of his films. And just, we've already done that with Carpenter. And the one thing about it, if and when we do, or when and if, however you want to say it, we do that retrospective series, is that's going to be like the first time we've done a retrospective series that is absolutely close-ended.
Right.
As in, like, there will be no more episodes, because potentially Carpenter could make another movie, and I got to record another podcast for it to add into it. There could be another fucking Prom Night movie. It's probably not likely, but it could happen.
I doubt it.
But this is very something that's finite, and it's a good reason to go back and view his works. And the funny thing is by doing that, we're also kind of doing a Scream retrospective, because the entire last portion of his career was basically just Scream movies, almost, with a few other random wackiness in there. And it's difficult, so it's that's probably going to happen. I don't know exactly when and how we're going to do it, but next week we'll be back. We're going to review The Visit here on the Dead Air podcast, and then the week after that is going to be our 5th anniversary show, because believe it or not, this podcast has been around for 5 years. So the 18th will be The Visit, the 25th will be our 5-year anniversary show, and then I'm not quite sure what's going on after that. I think it's supposed to be Green Inferno, probably in early October. And then just fair warning, we will probably take several weeks off in October, because fucking Halloween and everybody's busy, and I'm going to be out of town for like at least 2 of the weekends that are happening. But then we'll come back in November, and we can talk about stuff when no movies are actually coming out, except for Oscar bait. So that's a thing. So anyway, tune in next week if you want more. We'll have a better idea of where things are going to be headed. And like I said, you can always find that at deadairpodcast.net/live. It will probably next week be about the same time it was this week, so like 9:15-ish. I'm going to guess 9 o'clock, 9:15. You can tune into that link, and we'll be here to talk about M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong. and Granny Ass in The Visit, which should actually be an interesting discussion. And like I
it's a
said,
movie worth discussing for sure.
yeah. So I'm just spoiler alert. Go watch the movie, and that's all I'm gonna say on that subject at this point. Because as much as you may be looking at it and thinking that it's irrelevant, it's actually quite interesting. And I'll leave it at that. But you can find all of our other stuff up, deadairpodcast.net, all of our other retrospective series. If you use iTunes, subscribe to us, leave us a rating and or review. It would be greatly appreciated. Helps us out. And if you want to support the podcast, then you shop on Amazon, deadairpodcast.net/Amazon, and then you can go buy your pornography and copies of Prom Night 3 or whatever it is that you happen to be looking for, and it'll help us out. And yeah, that's how it goes. So, Ed, tell people about that horror movie BBQ.com. Fair enough.
You can catch me at Horror Movie Barbecue, BBQ, whatever.com, and on Instagram and Twitter under the same name.
Jesse.
You.
Where on the Googles will people find you?
Go to google.com and in the bar type @DestroySuperman and you will find everything you need to know about me right there.
Including pictures of his dick.
Very questionable content.
Some Guidos.
You'll find me with some blowout haircuts and getting my eyebrows done.
Jesse's really Idris Elba.
Yeah,
Jesse'sCamelToe.com.
I'm really street.
Jesse's too street to be working at a bookstore.
That's true. I get told that all day. It's like you have way too much street cred to be working.
He's young, he's hip, he's good looking and rebellious. Like it's not fair. Nope, you can't work at this bookstore. He comes in wearing a backwards baseball cap
and Jenko jeans.
Jenko jeans, that's right. He listens to the Limp Bizkits.
That's right.
Great, and they're coming back.
I just like to scream at my mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I do all day.
Hey mom, you suck. Suck my dick, bitch.
No, go ahead, do it. No, really. Come on.
Please.
Come on, please. Get it on the internet.
This is just getting filthy. And I'm on Twitter @DeadAirJeff. So you can find me there. Follow me. Find us on Facebook. Like our page. It's always good to keep up on things. Hang around. Don't go to the prom. Never trust fucking James Ransome to keep you safe.
Oh, is this Silver Lining Pickups? I love this song.
Which is surprisingly in the soundtrack.
Yeah, it is.
And don't flick your bean.
Silver Sun Pickups, not Silver Line Pickups.
Silver Sun Pickups, good gosh.
I think we're going on there. So anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys here next week. We'll talk about things. And until then, fucking.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Impossible.
Who's plywood?
Those plain white tees, though. All right, boys. I'm gonna bounce. Talk to y'all later.
I've been for the silence all night long. It's just a matter of time to be sad with the
same old crazy lady.
Vexed to rest on you. It feels so rearrange. Everyone's so focused, clearly the sunshine. Everyone's so into my rearrange. Everyone's so focused, clearly the sunshine. I feel lonely. Still the same old expressions. That's through the years. That's why I still relate. I still relate. It's a fun to relate. It's the room, the sun in the sky. The room, the sun in the sky.